I like to call him Donald Dump.
Nice, got him.
Yeah.
Ronald Plump.
Oh, shit.
I'm going to get that on a mug.
I like to call him Treason Rump.
Oh, let's go. Roast his ass.
Yes. Get him, Brian.
Get him.
So many possible worlds, but we got this one. So many possible worlds, but we got this one.
Welcome to the worst of all possible worlds, the first and only podcast willing to make fun of Donald Trump. I'm the worst of all possible Joshes.
I'm the worst of all possible AJs.
And I'm the worst of all possible Brians.
And joining us today, we have a very special guest, one who I know that a few people in our audience have specifically been excited to hear from.
Yes.
We've got Greg and Jordan from the fantastic Brigham Young Money podcast. Say hey, guys.
Hello.
Hey, what's happening? It is good to be here.
I can't do the thing, unfortunately, though, because I am only the second worst possible Gregs because I share a name with Greg Abbott.
I'm just so excited that our two podcasts who slap sunglasses on old dead white men with problematic views can finally come together. We'll make them kiss.
Graphic design is our passion.
That's right.
And for those of you who haven't listened to Brigham Young Money, it's a podcast about Mormonism, Utah, the alfalfa market, and why all of it is actually very, very good and is going to go on forever until one day, of course, we all return to Missouri.
That walk to Jackson's going to be fun.
I don't know what the Mormon version of Inshallah is, but I'm just going to say it.
That's same fun. What we're going to be talking about today is the movie Saturday's Warrior, specifically the 1989 screen adaptation. There was a more recent adaptation, actually, which I'm assuming is as aggressively mid-2010s as this one is late 80s. Got it.
We're traditionalists. We're Tradmo.
Yeah.
But they added 3 new songs. I mean,
did?
how could you
Really?
turn those down, Greg?
I mean, this I had heard of this really vaguely before. Actually, someone mentioned it to us a couple of times in response to, I think, the first episode we had Nate Bethea on because he talked about hanging out with Mormons, listening to Mormon family radio dramas. And in fact, Rosie, who was on here for our CCM episode, who did not grow up Mormon, for some reason had a copy of this movie. And I feel like my impression of like Mormon pop culture in the 90s especially was like playing up we're just like another branch of Christianity. We want to sell you movies about Jesus. We don't really want to. That's what I saw in like TV commercials that would be like, here, get a Bible from the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. We're normal. And so I thought like Saturday's Warrior was going to be one of those things that's like, we're normal. Here's a story about a family and people learning to be good and nice to their parents. And oh boy.
Brian, you know what happens when you assume? I can't say the actual word because I'm Mormon, but you get it.
Right.
Yeah.
I grew up in the belly of the beast. I am from Provo, Utah. And I grew up walking distance from Brigham Young University on the east side of a beautiful Provo. And like, it's a pervasive, ubiquitous culture. And like, we've talked a lot on our pod about how there are different sects of Mormon and there are like different levels. Like there are out of state Mormons. There are Utah Mormons. And then more specifically, there are Utah County Mormons, which is just like expert sicko mode level Mormons.
Utah County is where Provo is, or?
Yeah. Okay. So it's like 40 minutes south of Salt Lake where we all live now. It's a totally different world. Like I still remember, I moved away when I was like 12 up to Park City, which is about 45 minutes northeast of Provo.
I used to ski there as a kid, actually.
Yeah. So okay. So it's like the one like blue pocket in an entirely just blood red state.
Yeah.
I moved to the East Coast and I come back and I get a job at Qualtrics, which is like this big $1 billion tech company right back, like walking distance from where I lived. And going from Philadelphia back to Provo is just absolutely polar opposite ends of the spectrum to like where I got like written up one time for telling somebody nicely that their work was bullshit and I couldn't let them like in good faith, let them like present this to like some big client in a meeting. Whereas like, I remember when I was in Philadelphia, like my first writing assignment, like I turned in this manuscript and like my creative director writes this on one page is next page, fucking next page, bullshit. So what I'm saying is that like the brain worms run incredibly deep where I live. And I am so excited to get into this with you.
So I guess I'm wondering then in terms of Saturday's Warrior specifically then, how do you credit this film with some of those brain worms?
Well, I mean, when you are this deep into Mormonism and Mormon culture, you understand that like you're in this bubble where everything like being Mormon is not just a religion. Being Mormon is an identity. It takes up every second of every day of your life. And it's this pervasive culture where everything is based on Mormonism, including your media consumption. Like I grew up in a household where The Simpsons were banned.
Oh yeah.
My media consumption as a kid was like Mormon gospel records. Like my dad loved like show tunes weirdly and like operas and Broadway films.
The musicals are a big part of the whole Mormon thing.
Yeah, Mormons fucking love musicals.
It's just a very gay religion.
It really, I have my theories about Joseph Smith.
Oh yeah, sure.
When you are that deep in the culture, that's all you consume. And like there's an entire media branch of the Mormon church, you know, to the point of like there are Book of Mormon stories, which are these animated cartoons that I would watch about Nephi and the Lamanites.
Sweet.
So like you kind of graduate like
those are like your adventures in Odyssey. It's sort of like on the
absolutely.
I last watched this when I was 8 years old.
This left it firmly in the past until we dug it back up.
Exactly. This was a fun 2-hour guilt trip I have not endured in 25 years.
We're reliving trauma. My therapist is going to send me a fucking edible arrangement.
So, oh my goodness, like this was a lot of formative stuff for me too, just because like the whole like being able to picture people like, well, actually, you have relatives who are like in the premortal existence who are just waiting to, you know, be born and everything. Like, and like that's stuff that really fucks you up as an 8-year-old.
And that's dogma too. That is like something that is core.
That was a big question I had.
Well, both Jordan and I baptized Anne Frank.
Well. Yeah, but that's after death.
No, hold on.
We'll talk about that later.
What?
You can't just like throw that grenade in the room and just walk off, man.
I live for chaos, man. I'm a messy bitch.
Because even though Gallup, New Mexico is actually pretty Mormon, I didn't know very many Mormon kids because I went to Christian school and Mormons tend to go to public school. So I knew like 2 Mormons in high school and that was it. But like growing up, it was just like, okay, Mormonism, this thing of the TV commercials, the one church over there.
Right.
And I remember one time we got a call from someone who was like doing genealogy work. They had left like a message on the answering machine and because his last name was Alford. So he was like getting in contact with Alfords. And I was like, wow, that sounds kind of cool. Like some distant cousin or something. Well, I mean, you should call him back. My mom was like, no, it's probably a Mormon trying to get us baptized into the church.
I don't know if I've ever told you guys this, but I went to a Mormon service, which I think is called going to temple.
No, that's a kind of a separate one. The temples are like the super secret organization ones. You have to have like a special card to go to and all that.
Oh, sure.
Wow, nice.
It's a members only club.
Yeah, it's like the worst club ever.
It's the Soho House of Utah, basically.
AJ's just straining not to call it mass because he just really wants to call it mass.
Is I keep calling shit mass and it's not
it's
mass.
Mormon mass. It really is.
It honestly is.
That works.
Yeah,
great. Okay, great. So I went to Mormon mass and it was the whitest place I'd ever been in my life, and I grew up in San Diego, which is saying something. And it was, you know, I don't remember anything of it really. Then afterwards, everyone was really like welcoming and wanting to be like, hey, you know, you should probably like think about converting. Like it was a lot of people like trying to get me to convert, and I'm like, I'm 11.
We got you
going
in the
to
building,
Mormon
man.
church is kind of like sitting through this like a gigantic timeshare presentation every week.
Incredible. They also have a giant. We called it Mormon Hogwarts growing up because it was this cathedral that was off the 5.
Well, that's
freeway.
probably the temple, right?
That is a temple, yes.
That's the
In La
temple.
Jolla.
Okay.
Yeah. That
That's
thing
where,
is gorgeous. It's a gorgeous building.
Oh, they make the temples the most gorgeous ones. The meeting houses are all just like cookie cutter. We look exactly the same everywhere we go because we're too cheap to actually design something that might be interesting or original. So unlike Greg here, I did not move to Utah County until I was 12. Before that, I was from Idaho. I'm actually from the same town as Napoleon Dynamite, if you can believe that.
Okay.
That should set some nice foundation for how you should see me and treat me. So
it's okay, Jordan. I fucking hate you.
Which town is that?
Preston, Idaho.
Okay.
Right across the border.
I was going to ask about the llama behind you.
Is going to Utah County, is that like the aspirational goal? Like, I mean, aside from heaven, there's like still on earth, you're going to get to the heart, the ninth circle.
No, my parents divorced and my mom got a job in Orem. That's pretty much all you need to know.
So it's not Mecca.
No.
It is if you like Applebee's.
Yeah, it's Mecca if you really enjoy specialty soda shops, cookie stores, and like 1,400 calorie maple bars. That's pretty much it.
Many do. That's also the point of Holland, Michigan, for what it's worth.
Yeah, you like windmills and tulips, and a McDonald's that's like made like a little Dutch building.
Yeah,
I do like that.
They're so proud of that McDonald's.
But Jordan, so you saw this for the first time when you were 8 years old.
Yes, 8 years old. That was like one of those things. My parents got it from the local video store, which was not a Blockbuster or anything like that. Just since we lived in a town of like 3,000 people, we couldn't get such quality businesses there. So they brought it home and I watched like, wow, I feel horrible. Which honestly mimics most of the reactions I've had to Mormonism my entire life. So
this movie is incredibly bleak in a way that I was not anticipating when I sat down to it. Because this intro does not set you up for like the emotional carnage to come.
Yeah, the intro is great. It starts with like, you legally could not make a direct-to-video movie without opening of a shot of clouds from above in the 80s and 90s.
I thought the opening needed more cloud.
No, it's true. Like then they just went and, I don't know, raided the stock footage closet in the Mormon Tabernacle and just threw in every image of a baby.
It looked like the montage from Reading Rainbow.
And we get this wonderful like Star Wars ass crawl. And AJ, can you read this, please?
Absolutely. In 1973, a stage play humbly debuted. It's your first red flag. Anything that says it's humbly debuted. As a college drama project, throughout intervening years, its spirit has captivated millions with an influence as profound as it is immeasurable. Hearts softened, priorities reoriented, children welcomed. The magic continues.
I do have to agree with like the whole priorities reoriented thing because like I immediately became manic after this.
Right.
I was looking at my walls and thinking they needed a new paint job.
What can I do to be more productive in this moment? Literally anything other than watching this fucking movie. God.
I mean, that's the amazing. So neither of you ever saw this live on stage, did you?
Oh, no.
Okay.
There is a actual like parody of this that actually is kind of like a stage play that
fucking rocks too. It's so
it
good.
is. It's called Saturday's Voyeur, and it's it's a great play on words too. I think they just barely stopped doing it not that long ago.
I forgot they're still doing it, but it's under a new name.
Oh, okay, that's cool.
Is this like a it's fun for people who are already Mormons who want to be a little cheeky, or is this like a South Park, Book of Mormon style, like, fuck all y'all kind of
tear it all apart?
More of a South Park fuck all y'all.
Okay,
amazing, and it's a musical too.
It's more of a stage. It's not necessarily like a musical. It's more of like I would say like a variety show or something like that.
They sing songs though, but it's not like, it's not a full-fledged, like this isn't Lin-Manuel Miranda.
Yo, I come into the place and I roll up to all my boys hanging out on Kolob.
Let's go. Those are what we call bars, ladies and gentlemen.
My God.
Do my best funk flex, just bomb.
Listen, there's a good chance that Alexander Hamilton has been baptized in the Mormon church now. This could be a possibility.
Retroactively. Yeah, for sure.
Anything can be a Mormon musical as long as you baptize him first.
That's right, AJ.
Can you explain to me, what does the title mean? Because I've been racking my brain trying to figure out why they're fighting Saturday.
Who or what is Saturday's Warrior?
I honestly couldn't tell you. Like, honestly, it's just something that someone came up with like, yeah, that kind of works. That's kind of catchy. It's fun.
The lyrics are kind of hard to hear, and like I looked up the lyrics and I was like, well, this doesn't explain it. They're still just saying Saturday over and over again for some reason.
Saturday. Yeah, that very holy day in Mormonism, Saturday.
You know what, though?
Seventh day Mormonism. Yeah.
I was actually talking to my wife about this, and we both kind of came to the conclusion of like this. We have a theory where like Saturday was always the day that you would like clean the house and do all the work. And there was a song that I listened or that we would sing growing up. And it was Saturday is a special day. It's the day we get ready for Sunday.
No, those are bars.
Okay. Yeah, oh, absolutely. Yeah. But like, I kind of have like, I think it's something maybe tangentially related to that of like sort of you're preparing yourself on Saturday to get ready for Sunday, the holiest of holy days. I don't know.
That would make some sense that like there is a domesticity to Saturday, I guess, where the preparation and it's where you bring everything together. Because that's really what this movie keeps coming back to is the importance of staying together, keeping a tranquil domestic life, staying with the family. And we even hear this from the opening number.
It's amazing how disinterested the choir sounds while singing the opening number. They're just like,
we're the Zoloft capital of the world. So
that just meant to me like they just got like some sort of ward choir that they got for like some sort of like free labor thing. Just like, hey, can you record this song in like 10 minutes? And like, we're just not even going to worry about it. We just need this over some credits.
This sounds like any kind of pre-recorded choral piece I've ever heard in church.
But we hear the lyrics about how these children are very important. You know, they must learn why they're
future.
They must learn why they're here and who they are. And this raises the question that this show never really pays off.
Yeah.
Which is, who are these children coming down?
Whose children are they?
Children are they?
It's after this Maltby and Shire ass opening, we now find ourselves in the opening scene of Carousel, where the children are hanging out with the fucking star hanger. But what I'm hearing is that this is not metaphorical stage space. This is actual Mormon theology. They really believe that the thing that like Shirley Temple goes and does in the Bluebird is real and happens.
Yeah, can we describe first the visual space that we're seeing here? What this heaven environment looks like?
I'm guessing 90% of this budget went to fog machines.
Yes! More fog machines at a fucking Prince concert.
Yeah, fog machines and that one car rental later.
It's a nice car. I was really impressed that they were able to sing with that much fog. Like, that's actually the most impressive part about this opening sequence is that their throats aren't completely dried out and they're like croaking and dying, asphyxiating on the ship.
I watched this with my wife and she said the exact same thing. It's like, how are they able to do this? Like, that has to just destroy your throat. And it's like, well, I'm guessing they probably had to re-record a lot of stuff afterwards.
But we've got this tableau, right, where it's sort of a liminal space. It's very broad and empty, but for the aforementioned fog, which I guess represents clouds. And everybody's wearing like pajamas.
They're entering their honk shoe era, Josh.
Yeah. And
honk shoe, me.
Sure. And
no, the me's are Jehovah's Witnesses. It's a totally different thing.
Yes, that's fair. Sorry.
What is this theologically? Like, this is a thing, right?
Yeah, in the plan of salvation, which is like the big plan for why you're supposed to go to heaven and all that afterwards and all that. Like, this is the part where you're waiting to get a body and then go be tested for the Lord and all that. So then you can be the most righteous on earth. This one just makes it look like it sucks. Like, it's empty. There's nothing there. All you can do is dance, apparently, because you have nothing else to do. No wonder why all these people are waiting to be born. Like, there's not even like a magazine or something.
Hey, there is a single plinth and some stairs leading up to the plinth.
They can't even go and see a Rodgers and Hammerstein musical. What do you want them to do for eternity here?
Yeah, they take your phone away like you're at a Jack White
concert. God's just like, I need you to put this in the yonder pouch. Everyone, come on, get your yonder pouches.
Yonder pouch.
Wait, so is this world then, this like celestial pre-born environment or whatever, this is different from heaven? This is a different space in Mormon cosmology?
Yeah, this is the spirit world.
Okay.
Although it's also kind of heaven because like Pam comes back after she
comes
dies
back,
for some reason.
Yeah.
So I'm very confused. Like also like it should also be known too, like we don't believe in predetermination, which is weird because like this one makes it seem like it really is predetermination.
Right.
These are the Calvinist Mormons.
I guess so.
I was like reading that too. It's like, so you're supposed to have 8 kids? Like you have a predetermined amount? Like what happens if you have a 9th? Is that like, do you birth fucking Damien or something? Like what happens?
Well, that's one of the most confusing plot elements of this entire thing is that the mom apparently can't have a baby until her son comes home.
Well, we'll get to that. But yeah, so the first line of this show is just really, really wonderful.
I wonder what's taking them so long, all of this waiting.
Oh, you're really anxious to be going, aren't you, Todd?
When I think of what's happening this very minute, my mother having her very first baby, me.
It's not even a good way of wording it.
So that
would be
man,
so much funnier in a Donald Trump voice.
My mother having a very first baby.
No.
Me. We have an N-word family. Do you know the N-word? That's nuclear. We have a nuclear family.
So this is Todd. Todd is the first man we're seeing here. And Todd...
He's the most Todd-ass guy in existence.
Todd looks like he could be like my long-lost uncle or something. Like he definitely looks like we have some genes in common.
Yeah.
His big thing is, I can't wait to go out there and get born. And he's there also with Julie. Julie is also excited to get born, but they're worried because once they make it down to the firmament, will they still know each other? Will they still love each other? This is an issue of some concern for the two.
Hey, somebody out there! I'm coming!
God damn it.
He's coming.
Wow, same.
What?
Boy.
You can definitely tell that every single guy at BYU in like 1989 really wanted to look like Donny Osmond for some reason.
Yeah, absolutely.
As someone who grew up walking distance from Osmond Lane, I can absolutely co-sign that.
The Osmonds might as well just be like royalty at this point. Like they might as well be our royal family. Like Marie's the queen for some reason.
They literally have a gated community named after them in Provo, Utah.
Oh my God.
Well, do they live there?
I know they used to.
Do they own it? Is it like a thing that they own?
This was in my neighborhood.
Wow.
Osmond Lane. It was like a thing that we would drive through Osmond Lane during the Christmas season because they would have these like elaborate light shows.
Oh, wow. I couldn't tell any of the men apart in this movie. Especially like the first half hour of this movie is everyone waiting to be born. 26 minutes elapse before we actually get to Earth.
And we meet so many fucking people as part of this. We've met Julie, who I guess is the Marie. And there's this long ass book scene. We meet all of these future siblings.
They have this scene where they imagine their parents expecting them to show up.
Yes.
And it's
What I'd give to see the look on Mom and Dad's face when it happens. Sure feels like a big one, says Mom.
what?
Got to be a boy, says Dad.
I'd love a little girl,
Comedy.
says Mom.
Gold.
And then the exciting moment arrives.
Yeah, so this is the fucking like Von Trapp family singers.
Yes, it is, because then they fucking start singing.
Yes. They then have this other great moment where they're so sad. We're making the baby angels sad because people are not having enough children.
Right.
Of course, it's easy to understand why she might be worried. 1.7 kids per family, not to mention abortion.
Benji, don't ever say that word.
It's terrible. If people only knew what they were doing.
So the one thing I'm pulling from that part is
The one thing.
Yeah. Amongst many, I should say, is that it feels like it's a lesson that you're like, listen, I know you might be tempted to do things like pull out or use birth control or like just bust in a sock or something. But when you do that, you're killing a baby angel. So I just want you to know that.
You have a bunch of kids that are supposed to be born to you. And if they're not, they're going to be given to somebody else, which happens in this movie.
This is why I only masturbate while looking at Slayer posters.
Because it's going to hell one way or the other.
Solidarity, brothers.
Amazing.
And then we get this song because they have this youngest sister, and she's the one who's where everyone else is like, we're definitely going to be born. She's like, what if I'm not? What if they all leave me behind? It's like, you're in fucking some kind of a heaven, so who gives a shit?
But this is important though, insofar as it is a setup for one of the major ongoing dramatic conflicts.
Yeah, I didn't realize I was supposed to be paying attention to this part.
It's okay. I paid attention to it so that you don't have to.
So we get this little moment with the song that they're singing, and then Jimmy's like, "No, we'll make sure that Dad busts enough times to get you on the plane."
So this is the youngest child, Emily. Emily has not been born yet. And one of the big dramatic conflicts of the film is, will she ever get the opportunity to be born? And the person who I guess is responsible for ushering her into life is her older brother, Jimmy. Jimmy is going to be our primary protagonist for this whole fucking movie.
But how does he usher her into life? Does he
Very
sleep
carefully.
with his mom? Like, what
Dad,
the
you
fuck
have
is
to nut
happening?
tonight. You have to give me Emily.
Hey, Dad.
Dad, eating that celery? We got to get some solid ropes.
Yeah, you get the just like a bunch of angels screaming like that terrible scene in Requiem for a Dream. Come.
It's just this, but it's... This is going to keep going because we're getting serious now. Go, let's go to the bridge. Yeah.
I've got one for you. What'll you do if there comes a day when I lose my way?
What'll you do?
Well, I would stay by you, Jimmy. Pray for you, Jimmy. If it would help, I'd even die for you, Jimmy.
Die for
The
me.
fuck?
You're not alive.
You're skipping a step.
We were all fucking dancing like lunatics during that part.
Not me. I want the record to show. Not
all
me.
of us except Brian were
This
dancing
is
like
not
lunatics during that
Sondheim,
part.
folks. I do not appreciate it.
Brian raves to Sondheim. He's a big Pacific Overtures raving fan over there.
It's not even a lie.
It isn't. Sorry, Greg, you were saying.
I was just gonna say, I just like reliving all of that and like getting a bunch of flashbacks, reliving a bunch of trauma. It really is funny that the religion that like almost made it so like Prop 8 was a thing, and the world's most homophobic religion has the absolute gayest ass.
It's
choice in
amazing.
music.
Yes.
Yeah.
Unbelievably gay religion, just all around. Extremely homosexual.
Yeah, it really is funny that like BYU leads like the nation in like stage productions and like dance departments.
Do they have a really good
totally
musical theater
unrelated.
program
Their
there?
dance
Totally
department's
unrelated.
incredible. Like legitimately,
Yeah.
like they win awards for like their ballroom dance, and like they have one of the funniest, like most ironic things that I found the other day was the BYU hip hop dance division is a national champion.
Oh my God.
No way.
I'm not. Go on YouTube and look at the BYU halftime shows that the BYU dancers put on during the BYU football games.
Yeah.
Legitimately incredible.
I think the last time that they actually won that national championship, I think I quote tweeted the announcement of it with like just Elvis giving a thumbs up and
He's what?
He's why.
He what?
Yeah.
Thank you, Brian. I do feel like when it comes to fucking like white bread ass religion, whether you're talking about Mormonism or evangelical Christianity.
Excuse me, Josh. You know that the main religion in Tonga is Mormonism. How dare you call it a white religion?
I didn't say white. I said it's white
According
bread.
to the church, 130% of Tongans are Mormons.
Yeah, what do you think BYU gets its linemen?
Jesus. There's a line in this movie that baffled me. They talked about San Diego girls as if they're like the most corrupting force on the planet.
The biggest sluts in the universe all come from
are down
San
in
Diego.
San Diego, like one of the most conservative counties in California.
There's a reason they call it El Cajon.
Those damn military wives, I swear.
Yeah, no,
It's worth noting that like the people who made this are like Hollywood people who have worked in film production, not just Mormon film production, right? But Lex de Acevedo, who did a number of Mormon movies like Against a Crooked Sky, a song of which was used in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. He also wrote the music for Swan Princess and the Where the Red Fern Grows adaptation. Douglas Stewart wrote the script for the Where the Red Fern Grows adaptation as well. And the director of this, Bob Stewart, is a special effects supervisor who worked on like Terminator, 300, Decker. What? These guys are like, it's like Focus on the Family with all these like Southern California ass freaks who just keep talking about California.
By
and how
Decker,
evil
you don't mean the Tim Heidecker
I mean Decker,
thing.
yes. Yes, I do.
Jesus Christ.
That's amazing.
But yeah, the thrall that Broadway has on the Mormon community is just fascinating to me. And it even comes up in the plot of this show.
Another thing that we see set up here that ends up having quite a bit of connection to Broadway is the introduction of two more guys, Wally and Harold. We've got Wally, who is the straight as an arrow, overconfident and rather buffoonish man who is going to save everyone as a missionary. And then we've got Harold, who is a little bit of a dork. He's kind of dweeby, guys. And this odd couple is going to go off and try to convert people to become Mormons. Now, there might be a Broadway musical that reminds you of.
Yeah,
Maybe.
I honestly thought Wally was going to bust out "I Believe" and like any moment of that like scenes he was in. It was like, all right, I've seen this before.
Well, the humble song that they sing is basically you and me, but mostly me.
Yeah.
This is a trope in a lot of Mormon movies. I've never, aside from this, really seen a Mormon movie all the way through, but my parents have DirecTV and they have the Mormon channel on there. So whenever I'm home for Christmas, I watch what the Mormon television is up to. And I've seen a number of movies that are all about like the goofus missionary and the gallant missionary going around doing missions. And it's every time the gallant is a tall guy, skinny, he's got all of his shit together. And then you have a short, fat dude with glasses and curly hair. They always have curly, thinning hair. I don't know why that is, but that's always the goofus. It's always Josh Gad and Andrew Rannells for real.
Yeah, it's the Mormon version of Gaston and LeFou.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And there's a point that even reflects, like in of course, the Book of Mormon, the musical, you have Elder Price, who's like, my favorite place to go would be to, go to Orlando and preach to people in Orlando. Mm-hmm. And then he gets Uganda and it's like a big, like, wah. We have a parallel here.
Oh, just like I've always said, it's who you know up here that counts. Pull some strings and we're born in the last days. Pull some more strings and in 20 years, Zammo! We'll be preaching the gospel together.
Zammo?
You want to be preaching to something besides marsupials in Madagascar, you had better get over there.
And from the Southern Baptist background, not everyone becomes a missionary, but those who do, the idea is that you want to go to Africa. You want to go to some place like Madagascar because it's really cool. There's marsupials there.
Are there?
I think they meant you will be born in Madagascar, which, noting the church's history. Lots on racism.
Yeah, you want a mission there, you never want to be born there.
Whoa, hold on. This was 11 years after we had decided that black people were human beings.
Yeah.
Subtext is fun.
Yeah.
I just Googled, does Madagascar have marsupials? The answer is no.
And speaking of missionary work, did y'all go on a mission?
Oh, no, I joined the army to avoid that.
Okay.
Oh, wow.
No, I was good at sports.
Oh, I see.
they can't send their best athletes out on missions.
They're not sending their best folks.
Well, it is fascinating because insofar as this musical works, I think the missionary stuff is the stuff that works best. Like a lot of the family drama gets a little convoluted and
lost in the sauce. Yeah,
really lost in the sauce.
Yeah,
but the missionary stuff I think comes through pretty clear.
Yeah, because it's Mormons have been making that story for the last 100 years.
Right.
So they're just like, yeah, we're gonna throw in the mission plot line that we have figured out the formula to.
Some like Mormon screenwriter somewhere saw a Laurel and Hardy movie from like 1920. It's like, okay, I got it. We can make this work. And then like it's just been that forever.
2 missionaries carrying a piano up the stairs. Yeah.
Anyway, keep our boys Wally and Harold in the back of your mind. They're going to come back later on.
You're not going to see them for a while.
Yeah. Instead, we move now on to Jimmy, who again we'll remember is the protagonist of the story, the oldest sibling of this family, and his sister Pam, and they are very much in incestuous love with each other. I am concerned about this.
They put their hands on each other's upper thighs, you know, like siblings do.
And they also have to be timely, you know, so that they don't end up Madagascan, but also so that they don't get switched up, because
I did goof up once, sent the wrong babies to the wrong mothers. Luckily, the nurse in the hospital switched them back.
I like the messaging of that. It's like, did your child get switched at birth by a nurse? That was God's will. That's supposed to be your kid.
Good.
Don't worry, it worked out.
Right. Jimmy and Pam finally get fucking beamed down.
Like the thing over like this whole like spiritual world thing that I just cannot get over that my wife and I were talking about while we were watching this movie is like, why the fuck are they adults in the spirit world?
Yeah,
and then all of a sudden like they go into their little spirit realm like tractor beam and they're babies. Yeah, like there's just so much disconnect there that like I was losing my mind
kids,
at that.
Some of them are adults.
Kids, some of them are full grown adults.
Yeah, the age variation makes no sense whatsoever.
So weird.
But you can't have the innocent voice of Jimmy, remember your promise. It doesn't sound the same way if it comes from like a 30-year-old woman.
Jimmy, remember your promise.
Jimmy, remember your promise. In a land where promises are kept.
I'm going to be honest, Greg, that's very compelling. I would keep my promise.
Super
if that's the
duper
voice
fucking
that
compelling.
boomed in my head.
Yeah.
I would like to talk for just a brief minute about the acting style of this film.
You mean bad?
It's very bad.
But it's actually good to me. But
I'm also very I'm sympathetic towards it because I think a lot of these people were probably in the original like stage show or like
I don't because the original stage show was so long. It was in 1972.
Oh, that's right.
It came out. This was like
17 years later.
Yeah, some of them weren't even born when the original stage show happened.
Yeah,
they
we
were
had
still
a bunch of people in the spirit world.
They were watching from above.
Yeah, who were like, that's
who
gonna
are
be me.
these children
like,
coming
wow,
down?
What a good show.
I'm coming.
Yeah.
So the acting style is bad, but you know, it's one of those things that it's like, you know, if you're acting on stage when you actually film it, you know, you want to like usually like pare down your performance a bit. But there's this thing where the director clearly told them to just do whatever you would normally do on stage and we'll just film that.
Right.
But it leads to like these various like people like really, really overacting, and then a couple people who know they're on film and are able to pare down their performances. And then some people who are speaking in I-ams. For some reason, one of the daughters has a line that goes, "A little baby right this minute." Like, that's exactly how she delivers it.
Anyway, I want to get to Earth.
Oh, fine.
We got to get past
Having
this.
so much fun in the fog, Brian.
There have been 5 songs. 5 full songs, beginning to end, before we landed on this planet, and I thought, oh, dear Christ, this is the whole movie. This is going to be the whole movie.
Finally, after 26 minutes, we end up in an airport. And in this airport, we are seeing a grown-ass adult version of Wally. Again, we'll remember he's the missionary from before. But he's with Julie. And Julie, we'll remember, is the one who we probably won't remember this, so I better say it again.
I certainly didn't.
Julie is the one who had previously in the pre-born
3
realm,
songs ago,
3 songs ago, pledged her eternal love to Todd, and now she's with Wally, the missionary, and it's like, wait, but they're not the ones who are, you know, betrothed to be together. What's going to happen?
Oh no!
for the life of me, I thought Wally was Todd too, because all these people look the same.
Yes.
I hate these names so much, man. Jesus Christ.
Also,
Todd,
the scene at the airport's amazing for a few reasons. First of all,
I want to play a clip that has a lot of very important words that I want to talk about.
Okay.
Is this the girl I gave my CTR ring to 6 weeks ago? Is this the girl who swore to unconquerable fortitude and pioneer zeal?
What's a CTR ring?
What is that?
It's a special kind of a CTE that BYU players get.
So CTR stands for choose the right. It's
Choose the what?
Choose the right. It's supposed to be like a symbol, like
RITE.
Yeah, RIGHT. As a matter of fact, for our podcast, we decided to make like a little cheeky little symbol ourselves to try and like make it a little bit different. But yeah, there's a little shield thing, and
wow.
So that's why you say choose the left. I get it, because it works on multiple levels.
It does. It's very funny. It's also like a very insider joke. So most people are like that. I don't get that. It's like, that's fair. That's not for you. But yeah,
we ask that on our show all the time. Who is this for?
Yeah,
sometimes it's just for us.
Yes,
yeah, it's just for us. It makes me laugh. It doesn't have to make you laugh.
Yeah. So what is the like emotional significance of a CTR ring then?
Well, it's this ring that they used to like give out. Like I remember I received like one when I was like 7 or 8 years old. As like here's a little ring you can wear to make sure that you stay on the right and on the true path all the time. And then like at a certain point, like you could like buy them from like Deseret Book or all that, which is like the church's own bookstore.
Oh, wow.
So like you had the option of actually like wearing these things all the time too. And it's supposed to be just like a constant reminder. And I guess these two use it as a promise ring.
Well, that's what I was wondering. It's a different function from a promise ring. Like
it's
you
your
generally
promise ring to Jesus Christ.
Okay, got it.
Yes.
Yeah. So all the weird Dutch kids at Calvin would always give each other like a pearl ring as like some sort of bizarre
that was so fucked up
pre-engagement ring. So I thought,
is that
the
a thing in
Mormons have their own version of
Mormonism?
this.
Like when you say somebody's gonna get pearled. Which
Josh, this isn't a thing in any other any place. That is a purely Dutch Reformed thing.
Horrible. It's horrible.
Yeah. No,
it doesn't mean coming on someone.
You guys
it doesn't
have
mean
pearled. We have soaked.
we had a name for that in Grand Rapids. There was Grand Rapids Christian High School. We called soaking. Grand Rapids Christian High School was shortened to Gurkus from the initials. And so we would call that the Gurkus special.
That's right. That's right.
In Catholicism, we had penance. No, that's it. We didn't have any promise rings. We just had to repent.
You just had to apologize later on.
Every single day of our lives.
We had True Love Waits rings, but it gets kind of funny when you're jacking off and wearing one. But
this is why I only masturbate with my right hand.
There we go.
But AJ, we had penance too. The only problem is it was usually like with someone in your neighborhood and you had to look him in the eyes and tell him what you did. It's fun.
Oh, so is this like an accountability partner or something?
Yeah. No, it's like if you do a serious enough sin that you can't just be like, hey, sorry, dear God, I'm sorry about that. I won't do it again. I probably will, but I won't do it for a while. But like for like serious ones, like jacking off, pornography, things like that.
The really
too.
Serious shit.
You have to face the guy who sells insurance in your neighborhood, who's also been named a bishop for some reason, and then you have to tell him as he looks very uncomfortable.
Does he give you things to do, like to repent for it? Like, does he? Because I know in Catholicism it's like say four Hail Marys, and they give you like a laundry list of homework, or is he just like, you're good?
See, I always lied about it, so I didn't really have to worry about it.
Nice.
No, you just get to live with a lifetime of guilt.
Yeah.
Good. Oh, good.
AJ knows what that's like.
Well, and the nice thing is, because those bishops aren't, celibate priests, I'm sure there's absolutely no abuse that comes from that.
No.
You just get a secret credit card your wife doesn't know about where you pay for Bang Bros.
So let's go ahead and get into the fucking airport song.
Yeah, so now we have our Hadestown moment where he's like, wait for me.
I'm coming.
And
yes.
So this
Brian.
is another at least trope in Mormon movies that I've seen parts of, where it's like I'm going on the mission, but I've got a girl at home. I've got that girl that I've left behind. She's going to have to wait for me. And then
that's
we're
the
going
last
to get
time you're going
married.
to see her. She's gone.
And so we actually get a sort of okay number here.
Raise your hand and repeat after me. On my word of honor.
On my word of honor,
I will wait for you.
I will... Wally?
Oh, Julie, don't give me Wally. A guy has to know these kind of things.
It's gotta know.
Will you wait for me?
Will I wait for you? Will I wait for you? Will I wait for you? Will I wait for you?
So this is just like a series of missionaries and their girlfriends dropping luggage in like a kick line.
And I need to paint for our listeners sort of a visual picture of the costumes in this number.
A lot of primary colors.
So good. And like they're wearing, the ladies are wearing these dresses that are like a sort of a reddish ombre kind of color with like a nice texturing. And then the dress. And this is something that I noticed from like having watched a lot of musical theater, right? Is like there's a lot of stuff that again feels like musical theater where there's like a little kick line, there's like lots of like I'm doing the thing with my legs, but because the dresses are so long, you generally can't really see their legs, which is kind of the whole point of numbers like this.
Yeah.
Doesn't morning wait for the sun to rise like a birthday waits for a big surprise, like a baby waits for a diaper change.
What a weird lyric.
The worst lyric.
It's like, oh yeah, does the morning wait for the sun? Does a baby wait to shit all over its own ass?
I really appreciate a couple things there. First off, like my wife said about like the costume design too, was like, wow, someone had a semester of color design and never looked at it ever again.
Yes, sir.
And then like when it came to like all the women too, like how they were all like, the message was, and I really feel like this is what they were going for is, hey guys, don't get too hung up on it because while they're slightly different, they're all pretty much the same. Which in generally is the message that Mormonism gives about women anyway. So
yeah, well, and it's interesting because they do have this weird thing where these two characters, that guy who looks like Josh, is off being not straight somewhere, and then
He wants to be straight.
They're destined for each other from before birth, but like this relationship is therefore like I guess no one really cares. She's very unfaithful and she's very flighty.
Yeah. This movie has some very mixed morality to it too.
Yes.
Don't you dare do family planning, but also emotional cheating's okay.
Right.
Yeah. She was a whore.
It's amazing too that at the beginning of this number, the girls start singing and they have like, I think they only choreographed about 4 bars of this entire song, and then they just started looping it at a certain point.
They're doing their best out here, and they are okay. They are perfectly competent, but god damn, it's sort of hard to watch.
Listen, let's not judge by age here, because in this film here, Wally's supposed to be 19, and he's a solid 35.
Oh yeah, for sure.
That man has 6 kids and a reverse mortgage and
a very secret credit card. This song was cut, by the way, from the 2016 version. This next song is also cut from the 2016 version.
My God. I didn't even know what to do with this.
I didn't clip this because we go
Nose,
from this
Brian.
airport.
Nose.
We go from this airport scene to a TV studio just abruptly. And we see the twin sister in her wheelchair. This is like, I guess, the first time we see her terrestrially, and it's like,
this
okay,
again is
she's
Pam,
disabled now.
Pam, who is in incestuous love with her brother Jimmy.
Yeah, and who was really into dancing, because that's what she said she loves to do in the premortal existence, because in this movie too, God's ironic cruelty still exists.
And so she's singing a song about Jimmy Durante I'm like, that's what the kids love in 1989. Kids in Utah definitely know who Jimmy fucking Durante is. So they just sing a song. They're like, we have our father's nose. And they all put on these big hooked schnozzes. And the song ends and we go to the next.
It feels incredibly anti-Semitic.
It does.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Which is really funny because Mormons really are just weebos for Jews.
Yes.
Well, but this also sort of comes back to something that we've talked about a little bit on our Adventures in Odyssey episodes, which is how people who are, again, who love like this aesthetic, they love sort of the Borscht Belt, like that thing, but they don't understand culturally where it comes from, will end up aping the aesthetic without understanding the actual things that ground the aesthetic. And so it just ends up feeling very weird and disconnected from its original context.
Yeah.
And it was at this point that I was like, okay, this movie is definitely like a sketch movie. This is not a movie with a plot. A bunch of things are happening until it starts to coalesce like an hour in to be like, no, all of this is linking back. So I guess the family actually sings this song on TV. They're like,
yeah, they're the Von Trapp family singers.
Yeah. No, but what is their actual last name? Because this is also very important.
Does it say it all? I don't remember it.
Their last name is the Flinders.
Oh, that's right.
Not Flanders.
Stupid Flinders.
Stupid, sexy Flinders.
I gotta say, Oakley Dokley is a very like Utah County-esque greeting. So
it's the Flinders family, and then it's also the missionaries have their own side quest.
There's this really interesting thing that happens in Christian movies in the 2000s. Like this happens a lot later, where they all just become Babel. They all have like 40 different plots that they have to tie together.
Yeah, like
to
God's
fill
Not
time.
Dead. It's
God's
like,
Not Dead is like that.
It's like
the
Love
Genesis
Actually.
Code.
Vignettes that pull together.
Yeah, there's that one with Thomas Hayden Church. They all are these big sprawling stories that have too many plots going on. In the 90s, we had stuff like Adventures in Odyssey, where it's very simple. A plot, maybe a B plot. You know, sitcom format or just kind of regular 70-minute movie format. This is a trendsetter. This is the first one that's like, no, we're going to have every plot. We're going to have everything going on. It's going to be the story of the prodigal son. It's also going to be the story about the Goofus and Gallant missionaries. It's also going to be a story about being destined for somebody. And it's also going to be about a guy hanging out with his anti-natalist street tough friends.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And this, for me, is where the movie really kicks into high gear.
I love this part.
After learning about how we've all got Daddy's nose, which, to be clear, triggered my flight or fight reaction.
And we cut just immediately from that song. It's just happened without any context to these people who are friends of Jimmy talking about the song.
Yes.
These 50s juvenile delinquents hanging out with their street racing cars.
The only thing that you can really describe this like gang dynamic is essentially it comes from like a Dare video.
Yes.
Allie said that was a pretty impressive little number on TV last night, Jim.
Little number? No. Were there 10 or 20 in your family?
7.
Can you believe that? 20 siblings?
It's just a publicity stunt. We do it with mirrors.
You do it with mirrors?
Kinky.
Wasn't that show sponsored by Planned Parenthood?
I'll bet it's just unbridled primal urges. Is it hereditary, Jimmy?
Drop dead. Hey, relax, Jim. We're just worried about you. There are some important decisions coming up in your life.
What is this?
What's it gonna be?
It's establishing the stakes, Brian.
Wheels or 47 kids.
Yeah, man.
The two options.
Galore.
Or diapers. What a bore.
Yeah, they're now doing slam poetry.
Oh, oops, forgot my pill.
Pop, sex, squish.
They got a point. A couple says, well, just this one can't hurt.
But they can't stop at just one.
And pretty soon there's a child care crisis. No time, no bucks, no fun.
This is the worst porno I've ever listened to.
Well, it's like they started writing this scene with a destination in mind, but weren't sure like how to get there. Like they started from the end and wrote backwards from there. And then it's like, wait, how did we get here?
And here really is the end, is that these guys are not just street toughs. They're not just libertines. They're not just drug users, they're environmentalists.
We, as citizens of planet Earth, have a solemn obligation to preserve our natural resources.
Like the ozone.
Like Porsches.
Yeah. By limiting our numbers.
Awesome.
This is the threat the Mormon faces in this earth.
Listen, I just want to say these eco-fascists had a pretty good choreography to them. So,
They did.
Yeah.
I'll hear them out.
I just think it's really funny that, like, you know, outside of like the first racist moment of like, you know, marsupials in Madagascar, like the other moment is like Jimmy lost his way because he finally started hanging out with a black guy.
Right.
Yeah. Here's the one black actor in the show.
Yeah.
The guy who wants to preserve the ozone?
Yeah.
What a monster.
He started hanging out with the Captain Planet kids.
And that leads us then into this really fucking scintillating
Zero
little
population.
number.
These people want to drive humanity extinct.
Every day the world is getting smaller by far. Bursting at the seams, what can we do? Zero population is the answer, my friend. Without it, the rest of us are doomed. Who can survive? Who can survive? No one of us will be alive. Who can be strong? Who can be strong when every inch is gone? Who can survive? Who can survive? No one of us will be alive. Who can be strong? Who can be strong when Mother Earth is gone?
I have to say, like, all the arrangements for these songs were originally very 1970s, and this song adapts very well into the 80s with all the electronic drumming and everything like that. But this reminds me of that episode of Moral Oral. Josh, I know you were just rewatching Moral Oral, where they do a musical and Oral is playing Judas Iscariot, and he sings a song about how much he hates Jesus.
Right.
But it's the best song in the show, so everyone in town is just like driving around and just singing, I hate you, Jesus. I hate you so much. You're the worst fucking guy I've ever met. It's just like, this is the problem with faith-based musicals. They always give the best song to the most evil people, and in this case, environmentalists.
I don't know why, but this like one number reminded me of like an SNL skit where Norm Macdonald's the only person in West Side Story who doesn't realize it's a musical.
It's like if the nihilists from Big Lebowski were theater kids.
Yes.
I feel like for the most part, this score is like every German musical ever written. Like this has Der Medicus written all over it.
Yeah, it does.
But I think this one has personality and is able to like thrive because it has a very distinct point of view. And a lot of these songs don't really have a point of view.
Yeah.
And they don't feel specific. And then we just kind of go into like a desert of songs for a while.
Yeah. Oh, I was gonna say, before we get into that desert though, I also had one
Deseret.
more. Nice.
Hey, let's go.
I had a question for Greg and Jordan about this as well.
Yeah.
This like zero population thing, and you know, the idea that like the antithesis of being a good Mormon is a world where humanity is extinguished, to me speaks to something about the core of the ideology of Mormonism, that like there is a fertility cult aspect to this religion. And I was wondering if you guys could talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, man. Mormons be fucking.
Yeah. To put it more, a little more detail, that's Quiverful is like it's a movement that's pretty big in Mormonism to a certain extent. Like I think like Southern Virginia University, which is also a church. I don't think it's church owned, but it's church adjacent.
It's church affiliated for sure.
Yeah, there's big movements of Quiverful there too. So you know, like don't use birth control, don't do anything like that. Family planning is evil, blah blah blah. So the same stuff, but like like in the 70s and 80s, apparently that was huge. Because to me, who grew up in like the 90s and 2000s, like I barely heard anything about zero population. Like it was just mean like have as many kids as you possibly want, please. But that was about it.
Yeah, and this is like the outsiders really don't want you to do it. You have to do it because the evil ones from outside of our community are saying, no, you should be like the Shakers or some shit.
Which is also how Quiverful expresses itself in evangelicalism.
Yep.
Oh yeah. Like you have to have as many kids as possible to own the libs. Like that's kind of what it comes down to.
Well, it's also like we've talked a lot about on Brigham Young Money about how Mormonism was the first MLM.
Yeah.
And you need a lot of people in your downline.
That's true.
And also just like looking at this family dynamic of the Flinders, which is the funniest thing to say to me. You have 7 kids, one who is disabled too. And like, I'm just like thinking like, what kind of job does this guy have to actually be able to afford?
Oh, he's an accountant at Series. You could raise a family of 12 on a Sears accountant salary in Provo, Utah in 1982.
Yeah, like what is this like Mormon Michael Ironside doing for work to afford all this?
Yeah. Oh my God. I also got some real like sedated Mandy Patinkin vibes from this guy.
What's interesting is how realistic the family feels because the dad is totally checked out. He does not fucking care. Every once in a while, kids get like too rambunctious. He's like, "Shut up!"
Yeah, Mormons
and the mom
never did ban Quaaludes. Just
they like reference that the mom has had some like real emotional troubles that she hasn't been able to address. It's so strange.
Oh, this scene is wild. This is where we get to right after Zero Population. It's our first like family book scene with Jimmy coming back home.
And at first they're talking about like adoption, and so I thought it was going to be about like this whole thing about being pro adoption because I know Mormons adopt a lot of kids too.
Right.
But mostly it's just about how awful it is that people are abandoning their children. Like kids just being like, "You're not gonna abandon me, are you?" And
yeah,
like no.
It gets really weird too, especially when like one of like the younger daughters and sons are like fighting with each other. Like, I've seen you in my room hugging my pillow and kissing it, which as a father, I would probably have gone, hold on a second. You're doing what?
There's also
your
this
sister's pillow?
That was not enough for him to look up from his newspaper.
There's also this
extended
News. Extended conversation about like which child mom would give away if forced to do so. And it's like, what is going on here?
I mean, let's also talk about the fact that like the mom saying like, I still feel empty inside. It's like, well, thanks, Mom. We're here. So apparently the 7 of us just do not fulfill your life at all, and you're still like this. That's great to hear. Maybe you should just keep that between you and Dad and not tell us.
But she's hoping that she can fill that like hole inside of her by having yet another child. And Jimmy is not happy about this.
Yeah, Jimmy's like, maybe this is a problem. Maybe this isn't the way to address your issues because it hasn't so far.
Right. He's actually completely correct.
Yeah, we're pro Jimmy over here.
Yeah, very pro Jimmy. I mean, look, you all would also go insane if your house existed in a blue void. And you could just like walk through walls whenever you wanted to.
And my wife pointed out one thing about this house that just made me laugh, and we had pretty much had to pause it just because I was just laughing. Is that the staircase in the background looks like it was designed by MC Escher, and it's like,
yes, there is a forced perspective thing going on that doesn't work due to the fact that it's being shot from multiple angles.
Yeah, this is if Thornton Wilder did Night Trap. It's there's this conversation, Jimmy, like, I mean, he's very cruel to his mother. Like he really owns her here. It's not good. But like someone, maybe the dad, I don't remember. I just wrote down the quote. He says, "What is this, World Consciousness Week?" It's like, what are you, some kind of wokist?
Mom and dad both are pretty beside themselves. They sing about how like, what the fuck is wrong with our son? He used to be
about that song.
He used to be so nice, and now he's a bitch.
It's called "Didn't We Love Him," which is a duet between them and him. But it opens with the dad saying, "Is it normal teenage brain damage? Or was it something we did?"
Yeah, this guy does not fucking care about his kids.
No, but also, like, if the song was called Normal Teenage Brain Damage, it would just be so much better.
Oh, that's a different show. That's an entirely different show. There's no way.
That's my favorite Nirvana song.
That whole song was essentially like that Seymour Skinner meme of like, am I out of touch? No, it's the children who are wrong.
Yes. Yeah.
And so Jimmy goes out to the gazebo from Home Improvement.
Yes.
And,
where Brad has the weed under the bench swing.
He's gone out to smoke Brad's weed. And he stares at the sky and he sings how sad he is that he's with a family who doesn't understand him. And the movie briefly turns into a PowerPoint presentation of just like all of his like baby pictures of him
and it's
actually
like
growing
definitely
up.
that actor's real baby pictures.
Oh yeah, because the parents
it's
aren't
like
the
pictures
same.
with his mom, his real mother, who looks different.
Nothing like his stage mom.
I mean, it's, like that is the standard thing when you have like child photos of a character. You usually just like go with, like I did that with the end of the tour when I was working on set decoration for that. We just got a bunch of pictures of Jason Segel that I still have on a hard drive somewhere.
Amazing!
So his sister rolls in from the other side. I want to point out she comes in from out of the yard, I guess. Like she was going for a stroll.
Was there a ramp
the house
on the
is on the
porch?
other side of the. Not really. No.
Yeah, it looks like somebody had to like physically lift her onto the porch because there's no ramp. There's
she's
just
magically there when the camera pans out.
And again, just to reiterate here, because it's relevant, this is the same sister who loves dancing, or at least loved dancing back when she was up in fucking pre-heaven, but now mostly exists to suffer. And we have the physical manifestation of her suffering being that she's in a wheelchair, because obviously, if you're in a wheelchair, you can't really live a full life. I just had a lot of, this is for me,
Tim Robinson of you.
A very like personal, like frustrating thing. As somebody who has a chronic health condition, every time that I see somebody who exists who's disabled for the sake of us pitying their disability, it makes me really fucking mad. Like I just get so cranky about it because it's so clear that her entire role in this is to just be like the long suffering,
You and your perfect faith. I think you're too good for this rotten world.
If my faith were so perfect, I might be moving mountains.
Don't say it.
I might even be dancing.
Yes, sir.
But as it is, you sit there day after day. Never complain. Always cheerful.
Yes.
Always cheerful. That's
never
that's
complaining
one of those,
because if you have a disability, you should never be able to like the paragon of virtue. You can't complain about your lot in life, and it's like
that's right, AJ.
God gives us the disabled to show how much more faithful we can be.
Right, Brian. I am a walking example. That's
Thank
the point
you, Josh,
of me.
for doing that for
You're
me personally.
welcome.
I'm doing great because of you.
Yeah.
The first principle in Mormonism is shut the fuck up.
Don't ask questions.
Snitches get stitches.
Sorry, guys, but you can't have a grind set if you're complaining.
No,
That's true.
This bit was funny because this was Jimmy just going like ableist for like 5 minutes. We're like, did you change your medication? You just sit there day after day. I was like, what's going on here? Like, why is he treating his sister like that?
His twin sister,
Yeah.
who he touches on the thigh all the
he
time.
Sure
loves
does.
and wants to have sex with and maybe already has.
I'm coming.
Yeah, it's
There we go.
They sing like a love duet together. That's not a love duet, but it's 100% a love duet.
I've got a little bit of it.
Yeah.
Line upon line, precept on precept, like a summer shower, giving us each hour his wisdom.
We're still gonna do a rhyme in this one.
Precept after precept.
Line upon line upon line.
She's actually singing about cocaine.
Yeah.
This is the most played
Friends listen
song.
to Endless Love in the Dark together.
Yeah. It's like this starts out feeling kind of like Alan Menken, but like, I don't know enough about music theory, but there's something about the phrasing, the musical phrasing in most of these songs where it's just like, it's weird. It drags out too long. It's like, you feel the melodic tone and then it's like, I'm going to string you along a little bit
There's
farther.
something particularly weird about she sing and then instrumentally it goes ba, ba. There's something. It's
There's like a missing bridge. Like you fall into a chasm before it catches
or
you.
maybe like there should be another vocalist who like comes in part 2 with the duet, but it's like she's singing a duet with a synthesizer. Very strange.
Yeah.
It's a very, very odd little song, a very, very odd little composer. This Acevedo man.
But I do have a question here for Greg and Jordan, which is, what is this song actually saying? To the extent that it's saying anything.
Don't ask questions. It's like, it's pretty much like, why are you like doubting this? You don't know everything. Like, I think she even says like too, is like, I don't have all the truths. Like, it's the stars. Only some of them appear at times, which is like, to me, it's always been like, I don't want all the answers. I would just be kind of content with just an answer, period, about anything.
Yeah.
Like trying to actually find like an actual like coherent ideology in this is like nailing Jell-O to a wall.
Right. But that's what we do.
Yeah.
That's the whole reason this podcast exists.
Our walls are just lined with Jell-O nails.
This is one of my fundamental problems with Mormonism, and ultimately one of the big reasons, outside of the homophobia and racism and all that, why I left the religion is because it is an anti-curiosity religion. And like, I don't know. I grew up like a naturally curious person. I like to ask a lot of questions, and like, it just doesn't, a lot of this stuff wasn't making sense to me. It was, 1 + 1 doesn't equal 3. But every time I would go and I would ask questions, I was just told, you don't have faith. You need to look inward. And I remember there was one of the like most fundamental concrete moments when I realized that like I don't belong in this religion is I was in seminary, which is basically a high school class for Mormons. That's very prevalent in Utah. And I forgot the story. It was some sort of Mormon parable. And I was just asking questions. And I was like, this isn't making sense to me. And I got kicked out of class for being a distraction.
Greg,
and I was like, I wasn't coming from a place of like trying to be a detriment or anything. Like it wasn't making sense to me. And I needed somebody to explain to my dumb brain, like I'm 5 years old.
That's incredible. That exact same thing happened to me in Catholic school.
Yeah.
I was asking questions because there's also seminary in Catholicism too. And I was just asking questions, and I was called to the front of the room after the class, and the teacher said, you have to stop asking questions. The kids are listening to you more than listening to me.
Yeah.
And I said, well, that's not my job. And then I was not allowed back in that class.
I'm a fundamental believer that like, if something is the truth and it's infallible and beyond reproach, it can stand up to any sort of questioning.
Right.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. This is a little different, though, I think, from sort of the tradition of Reformed Christianity, or at least the more, I guess you could say, liberal strain of that tradition. Because although in Christian high school, I wasn't able to ask too many questions, I think that was more due to the teachers not wanting to have questions asked than the tradition of questioning itself. I always grew up learning, and I think, Brian, you may have grown up in a somewhat similar way.
Southern Baptists are actually the same way. They invite questions. Your answers are going to be really fucking narrow.
Yes,
but
correct.
Like, you can ask the question.
Yeah.
And in Reformed Christianity, too, there's this idea that, like, change comes about through discernment. The idea is that you ought to discern. I mean, it's such a fucking joke that like one year our college newspaper did, as part of their annual parody issue, they created a parody of Choose Your Own Adventure called Discern Your Own Adventure.
Discernment is just such a buzzword.
But it's just like careful discernment of the things that come together to be like, hey, does this make sense or not? I was so shocked in this number how it really was just like, you can't ask questions. The moment you start asking questions, you are doing a no growth. You are doing something wrong. How dare you?
Yeah, it's not even, the answers are right here in the book. You just have to look at the book more. It's like, just shut up. Yeah, you're right. Shut the fuck up. Shut up.
God's going to rain wisdom on you from above.
It's funny you bring up discernment because there is actual like discernment in Mormonism too. Like there is the quote power of discernment, which is supposed to allow like priesthood holders of every level to be able to be, essentially works like the Force, where it's like
you unlock that at level 3 and it grants 2 additional stat boosts.
It's actually what Charles Xavier has.
You're supposed to be able to tell when people are lying. You're supposed to be able to tell when people are being untrustworthy. You're supposed to be able to see their true hearts.
Got it.
But of course, it doesn't work like that because apparently, oopsies, we kind of put a bunch of child molesters in charge of our Boy Scout program.
You hate to see it, don't you?
It's the Mormon version of I'm an empath.
It actually is. It really is. Yeah. But I wish I had a cool story like you guys. I just got approached by a multicultural gang from an after-school special. And
I see. Wait, Jordan, did you come down to San Diego? I think I remember seeing you.
Let's go see musicals at the La Jolla Playhouse instead of the old Globe,
baby.
When we get back, we're going to pay off a bunch of the stuff that we've been hearing so far about.
All these threads are going to come back together.
Sort of.
Yeah. I'd also like to take a moment to sort of set up this commercial because I think think
yes, please.
It requires some setup.
Sure.
So while I was researching Saturday's Warrior, I, like Brian, listened to the original stage production in 1973, and then I also listened to the new version in 2016 to sort of like figure out what was cut and the reasons why and all that sort of thing. And in addition to the 3 songs that they wrote for the 2016 version, they also wanted to like do a thing where they like appealed more to like the modern youths.
Did they?
No.
They really wanted to do a little punch up for some.
This is a real thing that they did.
Yeah, for some.
They did, yeah.
So they brought in a dentist from Long Island.
Yeah,
named
sure.
Named Dr. Samuel Bolch, DDS.
Really?
And he did a couple little lyric punch-ups. That was sort of his thing. He was brought in as like a hired hand, and he recorded a demo for the song Pulling Together, like a new interesting take on the song Pulling Together. And I think you're going to see probably why it was cut. Hey there, folks, it's your brother, Jimmy. If there's bad news, gimme, I'll get you through.
Jimmy, wait, please set us straight. What stands between us pre-life goals and meeting our fate?
We've got our father and mother fucking each other, pulling together, hope they don't pull out.
What'll I do if Dad doesn't finish or his load is finished? What'll I do?
Try some hope, you tiny dope. And when Dad's getting horny and he's shooting some rope.
We've got our father and mother fucking railing each other, pulling together, please Dad don't pull out. Way up here, we just can't make it, all our open doors are shut. If we lift and pull together, we can help our father not.
Hey there, kids, it's the eldest Billy. I'm thirsty for killing and I hunger for flesh.
Have some faith. Wait, hunger for flesh?
Oh yeah, when I go down to Earth, I'm gonna kill a lot of people.
Why?
Just a feeling, I guess. I mean, I'm gonna be a cis white man in California in the 1970s. I'm probably gonna kill some people.
Oh.
Maybe some San Diego girls, if you know what I mean.
I do not, but I don't like the sound of all this killing business.
Well, what can you do to stop me? After all, what can you do? I'm the firstborn son, nothing to be done. What can you do?
I would stay by you, Billy. Pray for you, Billy. I'd even die for you, Billy.
That can be arranged.
We've got our father and mother fucking each other. If Billy's the firstborn, you should just pull out. Without a doubt, you should just pull out. Billy's a killer. You should just pull out.
He's gonna put the point in Point Loma. He's gonna lacerate La Jolla. He's gonna stab some people at SeaWorld.
Just pull out.
I'm coming!
Gosh darn it, Dad.
Ah, yeah, everything's coming up, Billy.
This is the point in the movie where we really kind of meander around a bit.
Yeah, this is the vibes portion of the movie.
Yeah.
We get a portion.
Oh yeah, this is where we meander. Yeah, not anywhere else.
No, everything else has been really straightforward and like just A to B to C. Like no, everything else has been really clear up until this point.
We've got Julie's number about an ideal husband where she like sings
an ideal husband. That sounds like something from the next world. No Oscar Wilde fans here.
And I thought that was good.
Okay. On the contrary, Aunt Augusta, I've now realized the vital importance of being earnest.
The big takeaway from this fucking bullshit is that Wally and Julie, Wally being our missionary guy, Julie being, I don't know, the fucking chaste virgin of the family.
God bless you for keeping track of these names.
You're welcome, Brian.
Even keeping track of these faces. I'm like Oliver Sacks with this movie.
This is a labor of love if I've ever seen one.
It was particularly hard to do given
Josh
that like
converted at the end of his movie watching experience.
Yeah, I'm a Mormon now. Given that this is, I think, like 240p or 360p video on YouTube, it makes it even harder to differentiate between their facial features. But Julie's waiting for Wally, but clearly her heart is in another place at this point, right?
2 weeks. 2 weeks after he left.
You gotta understand though, but like 2 weeks in Mormondom is like 25 years.
Yeah,
and it's, I mean, she keeps just telling him to work harder and work harder. And he's like,
not hard enough.
Yeah, let me play that clip. I don't have the clip from the song because the song is trying to be one of the fun songs and it sucks dick. But like,
it's wacky though.
It's a song about how she's breaking up with him, I guess.
Dear Julie, you are my inspiration. Why, last month I averaged 18 hours of proselyting a day, attracted 5,000 homes, held 125 discussions, and put my companion in the hospital. Oh, but still not one baptism. Do you still love me?
Just for like, just a clarification, like tracting is also like going door to door. So that's what they call it when you knock on someone's door and they open it up.
Putting his companion in the hospital sounds like it's separate from all of like the proselytizing. It just sounds like he just got really mad one day and put his companion in the hospital.
Yeah. I thought he maybe just had a really big whoopsie, just had a big mishap, and there was a problem.
He's a whoopsie clumsy, you know.
They're both kind like, we get the goofus, we get Drew Carey to show up again, but they're both kind of the goofus and both kind of the gallant. They kind of alternate,
which again is just like Book of Mormon. It's the same way, and I found the parallels so striking because the fact that Book of Mormon has, I would say, its issues, but it is by and large a well-constructed show, and so. Yeah. This is so poorly constructed, but it has the same feel to it. And I just think that's really interesting.
I apologize for mentioning that musical so much. I'm sure you've heard enough about it.
Yeah.
But it's also, though, like, they've definitely seen this.
Yeah. You can't differentiate from it. You really can't. Because, like, honestly, like, it's one of those things where this is such a shitty show that your brain automatically goes to, like, I'm going to think about things that are better. And there it goes.
Yeah, I have to admit, I spent a lot of the time during this part of the movie on my phone. It was college football Saturday. And Michigan was playing.
Oh, yeah. That Michigan-Maryland game was really good.
It was really good. Yeah, that was better than whatever this bullshit was. So sorry.
I do have to say, I do respect one thing about Julie, which is just like every time that like Wally would write to her, it's like, I've done all these crazy things. It's like, and then she just like responds with like essentially just, damn, that's crazy. And that's it.
My man got left on red.
And then we sort of get Wally's perspective on the situation. You know, Wally is he's bummed out.
They're in a park somewhere.
I'm also very confused as to where they are, because we come back to this later with the San Diego girls, and there is a beach. There's a sign that says beach, but there's a mention of Idaho. The goofus, Drew Carey, mentions
from Idaho. That's all.
He's from Idaho.
Yes.
Okay, because he made it sound like, oh, we're going to convert everyone in Idaho. And it's like, oh, that's actually a kind of a funny joke. These guys were sent on a mission where everybody's already Mormon.
I have some thoughts about their proselytizing in this, because I don't know if this is common amongst elders, you know, spreading the word, but it seems like it's the proselytizing equivalent of no worries if not. It's a lot of like, hey, do you want to join this religion, as people pass by? And most people, as they pass by, are like, no, get away from me. And they keep walking. And I found that honesty so much more, I don't know, thrilling than a lot of the evangelical stuff that we listen to, because evangelicals, if they're proselytizing to people, the people are like, oh, you're one of those, huh? Or they're like,
there are different archetypes playing here than there are in the evangelical Christian stuff.
Which feels more honest. Like, it feels like more people being like, hey, no, it's okay. I'm not really into this. Like, have a good day. And they keep walking. Like, it feels more honest to real life.
Yeah. What were you guys prepped for? Like, I realized you never actually did a mission, but I'm sure the missionary zeal was still cultivated in you and your upbringing.
Oh yeah. I still, like, if I go through my things, I'll still find like a copy of like Preach My Gospel and all that too, which is like the pre-missionary book they give you. Just like, just study this and, you know, you'll be ready to go for all that. And it was like, all right, yeah, that's definitely going to happen.
I mean, mean, a song that permeates my brain, like it's going to be one of the last things I'm going to remember before the DMT hits.
Right.
Is a song. I forgot the name of it, but it's like, I will go, I will do the things the Lord commands. I know he provides a way he wants me to obey.
I hope they call me on a mission.
They have to turn everything into a fucking chorus line. Oh my God.
You know, from the beginning, the whole like grooming thing is very in vogue now. From the time before I was even in diapers, I was getting groomed to go teach marsupials in Madagascar.
Yeah. No, I would same exact thing too. Cause I remember when I was like 7-8 years old and saying like, I hope they call me on a mission.
Yes, that's another
when
one.
I grow a foot or two, like blah, 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 blah. Yeah.
wow.
I
God,
hope they call me on a mission.
Yeah. There's so much inflated worth given to like missionary work in Mormonism where it's like, you know, you really need to do this because it's an important step for you in your maturity development as a member of the church and also as a man. Like they attribute that so much to like manhood and like coming of age and all that as well too. It's like you can't really be a true man unless you served a mission. It's like so in case you have any sort of like chronic health issues or anything that where you can't go, sorry, you're not really a full man. So
Sure.
I'm sorry.
If you're in that wheelchair and you can't dance.
Which is why we host AlphaCon in Salt Lake City.
That's another thing I want to talk about too, is that like missionary work, especially like Utah now, is like hitched to like grind culture so fucking much.
Oh, really?
That is insane.
Because the pyramid schemes, yeah.
Oh yeah, because like so much like missionary work is like tied to numbers. Like you have to contact so many people. You have to have so many referrals. You have to have so many baptisms. You have to have like, and like you'll deal with these like sales bro guys here who was like, yeah, when I was a mission, I was a zone leader when I was 19. I'm the youngest zone leader in that mission ever. And you know what? We made mission every single month, bro. And now I got a book for you to read.
Listen, bro, I had bishops in my downline. You don't understand.
Like there's a reason why there's like such a tech boom in Salt Lake. And like in Utah, like it's and like all of I-15 from Ogden to Provo is just the new Silicon Valley, and it's a lot of that.
It makes sense because I mean this is certainly not a new observation, but like Mormonism is in many ways the quintessential American religion. It's something 100%. That was created in a vacuum basically, and grew very quickly. And
thank you for listening to the show.
You're welcome. And exerts a great deal of cultural influence over a very specific area. And so like that entrepreneurial zeal is such a big part of what this country is.
Yeah, and it's also why it opens itself up to scams so much too, because if I can sell the gospel to people overseas, I can certainly sell new skin to my neighbors, or I can sell doTERRA to like people down the street, or I can sell like essential or young living to people who are in my school and my old colleagues and all my friends on Facebook and blah. Yeah, it's that same concept where you feel like, well, I'm a salesman now. Because I've done the ultimate sales job.
And somebody who needs something to be sold to him at this point in the movie is, remember Todd from the beginning? I don't.
No. No. It's Aaron Sorkin in a mullet wig. He's sitting on the bench. He's just drawing people.
He's just drawing people.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Todd was about 12 Donny Osmond clones ago.
Right.
Yes.
He's got a whole thing where he likes to sketch men.
Lots of men.
Okay.
And he likes to sketch them as to what they could be.
He likes
what they are.
And sing about
he's
them.
An oracle. All right, fine. We're just believing in mysticism now.
Why not?
Perfect.
Yeah, he's Todd of Finland.
I'm gonna draw you as a motorcycle guy.
I'm gonna stroke out.
I really feel like what the Heavenly Father wants for you is just to like be wearing really tight fitting chaps. No, Brian, go ahead and play the clip here because it's wonderful.
Yeah, so he gets the song because he's not a Mormon. He's looking for something.
The dream of what I'd really like to be, a brave and noble fiery youth, who's not afraid to die for truth, who's tall and straight, best of all,
He's what?
free.
I'm sorry.
Best of all, he's green.
No.
Free.
Where did we? You said you were. So if he becomes Mormon, he gets to not only be tall, he gets to be straight too.
And best of all, he's free.
Yes, he is free.
Oh, okay.
For
Yeah,
some
I understand
reason,
that.
every time I hear that line, I'm expecting it to be paid off with who's tall and straight, and best of all, he's gay.
That's exactly what yes. He's straight and he's gay.
Yeah, he's bisexual.
Bisexual visibility week.
Hey,
Broadway is back.
Todd, everybody.
This to me is that like Bob Stewart and Douglas Stewart went to New York and they saw Sunday in the Park with George and they're like, yeah, I want a guy to be drawing people.
Yeah.
Let's do it. There's even a whole don't lift the, don't, keep the profile, all that kind of shit.
Absolutely. As Todd dreams of being both straight and gay, Julie is
what's going on with Julie?
Well, Julie's also thinking about the ideal man. This again is like Goodnight My Someone from The Music Man, right? Where there's a reprise, they're both singing the same thing. I'm seeing Jordan, you're just like shaking your head. You weren't expecting to come on a musical theater podcast, were you?
No. I love The Music Man. I'm not saying anything like I like musicals. I'm weird like that. My wife introduces me to a lot of them, so I don't have a problem with it. Just like the content of this current one is just like, man, this is something.
This ultimately leads to what I can only describe as this fucking goofy as fuck crossfade where they like touch hands through the spiritual realm,
but they're not quite touching hands. It's like the shot is not quite lined up. Oh, it's magic.
This is those scenes in 1776 where John and Abigail are talking.
Is.
They're trying to like reconcile a pretty simple stage image into like something very complex and filmy, and it's awful.
I do want to talk about like the whole thing with like Todd and Julie, which is just like, I feel like this was the spot that created so many stupid pickup lines at BYU, where it's like,
oh my God.
Did we know each other in the premortal existence?
Have I met you before?
Fucking God.
Just straight up, probably the worst human beings on the planet, just going up to women, just be like, I felt like we knew each other before all this. And like, just thinking about it like after the fact is like, good Lord.
That like that reminds me of a category of TikTok that keeps getting served to me more and more often as of late, which is black students at BYU going around and asking pointed questions of white students, and it rules.
Yeah,
awesome,
I've seen those. Those fucking rock.
Yeah, what are they called? They're like the Black Menaces or something.
I think I just saw one the other day that it was, they asked them if they would look at pornography or die. Would they rather look at pornography or like suffer like a horrible death? And so many people were like, I would rather die than watch pornography.
I mean, I'd much rather have the Black Plague and hang out and watch some Tory Black. I got to be honest.
Yeah. My answer would be,
I'm coming.
There we go.
Yeah, every single time you see one of those like things, it's like, I would rather die than look at pornography. It's like, yeah, right, man. Half your hard drive is probably bang bust right now.
Oh, yeah.
No, come on.
They have an OnlyFans, but it's just Mormon underwear.
Oh, hell yeah. So we get into this next book scene that is just a huge fight.
This rules.
It's a big fight. The father is played by a man, I didn't know this, named Marvin Payne.
This scene is really funny because like they decide to just blow their load on the ending of The Prodigal Son already. Because so the son has been hanging out with his anti-natalist friends. With Rust Cole and the gang, and he comes back and they're like, happy birthday, and he's like, why are you throwing me a birthday? And they're like, shut the fuck up, we wrapped one of your sisters up in wrapping paper.
Oh my God.
Oh my God. Present.
I need to talk about that. Okay.
Yeah.
So was
this is
anybody,
not the twin sister. This is another sister.
There's this surprise birthday thing where they're all giving him gifts of service or whatever to show him. But this, by the way, is also
the gifts suck dick too. They're awful.
Well, the thing about the gifts for me is that some of those kids worked much harder on their gifts than other of those kids.
Yeah.
Like one's like, I will cook for you every single day for a week. Another kid's like, I will spit shine your shoes for the next year. And the other one's like, I got you tickets to see a show.
Right.
Yeah, but
and
that's the best gift of them all because it's fucking Lerner and Lowe, man. Like, that's
absolutely.
This is also, by the way, after Jimmy has laid his brother the fuck out. Like, his brother's like mad at him.
There's that other brother who does stuff.
Yeah, he's
the
great.
The Dustin Diamond character.
Yes.
Screech.
Rest in peace, Dustin. You were a bad person.
The scariest, the most terrifying moment in this entire film is when Julie steps forward being fully wrapped in wrapping paper. And of course, it's clearly not going to happen, but still in your heart of hearts, you're like, is she about to become nude for her brother? Please, God,
become nude. I love that phrasing.
It's the Mormon version of Marilyn Monroe coming out of the cake.
Yes. But it's your sister.
Birthday, brother.
I mean, I knew that blonde sucked, but Jesus Christ.
It's fucking
And this movie also has a
wild.
POV shot from a vagina.
It sure does. It sure does. Honestly, if at the beginning in the pre-life, when they were delivered to Earth, if a giant vagina had descended from the heavens and they like jumped through it like a water slide.
Like that scene in Patch Adams.
Yes, exactly like that scene in Patch Adams.
Part of the tension here is that Jimmy has once again gone out with the toughs and another musical number has happened.
The Summer of Fair Weather. This song sucks shit in the 80s version. The 70s version rocks. I didn't
It's
grab
really
that
good
because
in the
we're
original,
talking about
yeah.
the movie, but it belongs in the 70s. It's faster in the 70s, but here it is.
This is the intro to every 80s cartoon. DuckTales ass song.
Whenever you're ready to go.
It's like these guys are like, you want to head down to San Diego with us in our dune buggies and fuck some ladies from La Mesa or whatever?
Yeah.
The ladies are looser in La Mesa. That's what
do
they
like
say.
1/3 of the ballet combination from a chorus line here.
They sure do. It leads to a full-on confrontation with Jimmy and his parents where the mom, surprise, gets pregnant again.
Well, I do need to mention his twin sister gives him a CTR shield.
Yes.
He's getting crowned in the armor of God here. He has a sword made out of cardboard and foil.
And Jordan, Greg, is this anything? Like, what is this?
I literally made these with my brothers.
Really?
I wish I had a better recollection of why. Like, Jordan, can you talk about the armies of Helaman? Because that's where I think it stems from. But
holy shit!
This is a part I don't remember the story.
All right, from Book of Mormon stories that my teacher taught to me. That's another song, by the way.
Incredibly racist song.
It's set to like Native American drums.
No.
Yeah, it's basically the Mormon version of the Peter Pan Indian scene.
No.
Oh, no.
Oh, Christ.
So the armies of Helaman were this group of young men from this group called the Anti-Nephite Lehites. That's not important. Please don't.
That's a classic group, though.
Yeah.
I thought about joining once, actually.
They took up an oath saying they weren't going to take up arms anymore. So, of course, I think it was the Lamanites just slaughtered the shit out of them. But all of them didn't die. So at the end of it, they were allowed to have their children who did not take this oath take up an arms and then all go defeat the evil Lamanites or whatever. This Lord of the Rings ass religion that we have.
And so how does the short sword and shield come into play here?
There's also been like this talk about like the armor of God. Like
that's what it is.
Armed with
truth and righteousness.
Right.
Yeah. The sword,
the sword, the helmet, the shield, and all that. Blah,
Which is great when you give it to a bunch of 8-year-olds so they can kick the shit out of each other.
Foam sword.
It seems like this is a slightly different implication here, though. Like, I'm trying to unpack what exactly it means when fucking Pam knights her brother.
Because she says he's like a prince or a king or something.
What is this?
I think it's like going back to like the whole Camelot thing where it's like apparently she's Guinevere and he's Lancelot. It was like oh no.
This is very Folgers commercial. You're my present kind of moment.
Yeah, the British have never had anything wrong go with incest or anything, so we're good there.
Then the dad beats the shit out.
Yeah, it's so funny. So here's Here's the clip, and you're going to hear a smacking sound, and this is a full-on pimp slap of the young man.
We're going to have a baby. She's pregnant? Yeah, she's going to have a baby, too.
What? 3 months along, son. It's due in November.
No, it seems like only yesterday they put you and Pam in my arms fresh.
You're gonna keep it?
Jimmy.
Well, Mom, you're almost 40 years old. There could be something wrong with that baby.
There's something wrong with you.
Got him.
Well, maybe next time you'll just drop a whole litter.
Fucking knocks him to the ground.
Listen, let's be honest. Jimmy had a good line there. I wouldn't ever say it personally, but if you're looking to hurt, that is a good one.
It is such a jarring moment, too, because, again, you go into this not expecting there to be full-on abuse. You don't go into this expecting
This is not even dare to discipline style shit. This isn't a spanking.
No, this is a slap of anger.
Fucking slap you across the goddamn face, you little bitch, and you'll stay plastered.
Well, you're not going to have your father's nose if he breaks it.
That's right, Jordan. Once Jimmy gets the shit slapped out of him by his dad, he fucking heads out. And this then sets up what our fundamental dramatic tension is for the remainder of the movie.
Yeah, his mom miscarries.
Well, apparently. She seems to, but maybe not. Like his
unborn sister is in fetus heaven, like, Jimmy, you promised.
You killed me by dropping an epic diss.
It does seem to, like, I definitely read that as a spontaneous abortion, as a miscarriage, right?
I mean, it's hard to tell, like, how much time has passed by the time we get to the end. I thought of it as, like, because he does end up coming back and she gives birth to a child and it's the little girl and it's like, blah, blah, blah. But, like, I was thinking, oh, he came back and then he made sure that his parents reconceived and got through the whole 9 months all over again.
You're getting back in that bedroom and you're not coming out.
Calm.
I'm coming.
Yes.
There it is.
I'm just thinking about this too. Like, at this point, I just like thinking like if that can be what causes a miscarriage, I'm just thinking like an OBGYN, like talking to like a like expectant mother too. It's like, okay, so a couple of things you want to do is you want to avoid any sort of high levels of stress. And also if you can keep all your family members off of r/child free, that would be really good.
It's wild though, right? Because the implication here is that I guess that the only reason that a miscarriage would occur is if somebody is not sufficiently faithful to our Father's master heavenly plan, right? Like that seems to be. I'm curious.
Miscarriages are always someone's fault, is what this movie is telling us.
Like, can you guys speak to that a little bit? Is that like how does the church treat that shit?
Generally, it doesn't want to touch that at all.
Yeah. Sure.
Because that's no, don't put that on us. Okay, that's really messed up. And which is why, like, even for like abortion policies too for the church, you're like, despite being anti-abortion and pretty much everything but name only, like they'll still say like, we'll make exceptions for incest, rape, and in case of the mother's health. Like, so they give themselves enough wiggle room to say like, we don't want women to die. So, or anything like that. Like we're very sympathetic to it, but also at the same point too, Mormonism is a absolutely insane religion where you're going to have crazies who do think that if you have miscarriages or something like that, it's the fault of the mother and that's it.
In Utah, when the trigger laws went into effect after Roe v. Wade was overturned, was there an exception? Are there exceptions made for incest?
Yeah, there are. Okay. There, like it tries to mimic like church policy as much as humanly possible. Sure. If you can believe that.
No, I'm shocked. I tells you.
Yeah, when 98% of our legislature are white Mormon men, you can only imagine.
Yeah. But the problem with the trigger law is, especially in Utah, is it's so convoluted to actually, like the exceptions to the trigger law, it's so convoluted to actually engage it. It might as well not exist. Like, for example, in order to have an abortion for like the protection of the mother, you have to have 2 OBGYNs sign off on it that is actually harmful to the mother. Finding 2 doctors to do that and also risk like getting a felony thrown on you as well.
Right. Because that doctor can go to jail for
finding
that.
2 doctors who are willing to like risk a felony charge and 15 years in prison is going to be hard. And same thing for rape and incest too, because in order to get get that exception as well too. You have to report it to the police. Like it has to be a police report filed, and then the hospital or whoever conducts the abortion has to go through the police department to confirm that report has been placed in there, which if anything we've learned over the last few years does not bode well for women who are actually, in that level of trauma. Like we've seen that police departments across the country are completely inadequate to deal with sexual assault. And
absolutely.
Yeah.
And don't, especially at BYU too, like just to bring it back to like BYU, essentially BYU used to go through Utah County's sexual assault charges to find people and then put honor code charges on them. Like the people who made accusations.
What?
Yeah, they would. One of the things that they would see is like, well, if someone got raped, like say they were at a party and they were drinking, well, then you're going to get in trouble for drinking.
Oh my God.
Right? You're going to come and report that.
Evil.
That means that you've still broken with the protocols of this school. And so you're going to be punished.
Well, and it goes even more extreme. Like there are cases of women who got raped, who got kicked out of BYU for engaging in sexual activity.
Right.
Yeah. It's as fucked as you can imagine. We've done a couple different episodes on it, and it's heartbreaking stuff.
Yeah, BYU's police department became like a hair lash away from getting like decertified by the state because of it.
Jesus. But this is also, to me, this reminds me of some of the stuff that we talk about when we recap like Adventures in Odyssey and stuff like that, where like we always like laugh about it a lot, and it's always really funny up until it isn't, right?
Yeah.
Because so much of this is so fucking absurd. But the underside of it is that this isn't just something that people are putting out as like, haha, isn't this a funny little thing? No, like this is fundamentally of moral importance to these people. Like there are so many people who I'm sure have watched Saturday's Warrior and come away being like, this is the most powerful and important thing I have ever seen.
Priorities reoriented.
It's like it right in the title crawl. It's what you get is on the tin. Yeah,
Hearts welcomed, priorities reoriented, children welcomed. That's the Saturday's Warrior promise.
Like people are showing this to kids. This movie gets so fucking melodramatic and like dark that it's like, I was expecting something that was going to be kind of bouncy all the way through. And this is just like, here's a dad beating the shit out of his kid. And also he's very explicitly like not in the wrong in the perspective of this movie.
Yes. And then the sister turns out has a disease.
Yeah. Well, that's why she's probably in a wheelchair.
Disease, as it turns out.
Maybe
this is where the movie really got disconnected for me real quick.
Yeah.
And I was, but it didn't make any sense to me that like after Jimmy's dad beat the shit out of him and his mom, ostensibly miscarried, the very next scene is his sister dies. And it's like, sorry, spoiler alert.
Yeah,
spoiler alert for Saturday's Warrior.
But like, it's just like, if anything, like if you were writing a movie, wouldn't be like the next scene be like dealing with the mother who just so happened to lose a fucking kid?
You already have enough things happening.
Yeah, but that would like interrogate like the inner lives of women, which this thing is not interested in at all.
Right.
Yeah.
With Pam's death note, I just want to like say like I just feel like there needs to be a doctor that goes into a room just be like, we tried everything we could, but I'm sorry to say that Pam has a terminal case of we need to advance the plot.
Well, like we see a scene with her in the hospital room, and one of her like brothers has sent her a box full of like crickets and bees or something, and I'd like to imagine that she just died because the bugs killed her. Like, there is a scene in between the abuse scene and Pam's death where it's like a flirtation scene between Jimmy and Todd as they're sitting on opposite benches in this park where Todd draws a picture. Yeah, I want to draw you like my French girls, and then he shows you the drawing.
The picture is the picture, like it's hard to tell from the resolution of what we were watching on YouTube. The picture is so fucking bad.
It's one of the worst drawings I've ever seen in my life.
I spent like 3 hours on the shading on your upper lip.
It's like a Coney Island caricature artist. Like he was like, so Jimmy, do you like roller skates?
Oh, yeah.
Don't do my boys on Coney Island dirty like that. They're way fucking better than this guy.
Yeah.
Yeah. The main beats that advance it here, because of course it's
Josh's close personal friends.
That's right. Because
With
of
the entire
course
artist union of Coney Island.
It's all
How dare you fucking talk about my boys like that?
I draw you kicking a soccer ball, and this is the thanks I get.
Because it all hinges on Jimmy and not the mom who just miscarried or whatever. There's really 3 major plot beat advancements here. Number 1, Jimmy hangs out with the cool worldly sluts. Number 2,
he goes hangs
San Diego
out
girls,
and
yeah.
has like a threesome with them.
Right.
It's like 2 girls coming onto him at once. So it's like he bangs. And
he has sex
fucks the
just
San
off
Diego
screen.
girls.
With mirrors.
Yes.
They use those mirrors.
Thing number
Congrats on the sex, Jimmy.
Thing number 2, he reads this letter from Pam, letting him know that Pam is in the hospital. A large time skip is implied here. Maybe it's been a couple years, honestly.
Right. Well, because we're at like the end of the mission, too.
And then number 3, he's sitting across from said sketch guy. The sexual tension between Todd and Jimmy in this scene is so thick you could cut it with a fucking knife.
So time has passed, and we're at the place where the mission is happening, but here's the prodigal son doing his prodigal son thing.
Todd
He's
is
getting
literally
drawn.
wearing glasses to show that time has passed.
My eyes have gotten terrible in the last 2 years.
Man, if it works for Clark Kent, it can work for Jimmy.
Yeah. Oh my God.
Sure can.
We find out that she's dead. He calls home or whatever, and she's dead.
Right.
And so then we get a nice little conversation.
Was there no conversation like between the family beforehand? Like, you know, like
no, he was gone.
I understand the parents are checked out, but you can't like, I don't know, call your son and be like, hey, your twin sister's dying.
Yeah.
No, he calls.
There are no
Jimmy,
phones in San Diego.
Jimmy calls
That's
his
true.
dad on a payphone and learns the
We have carrier
news
seagulls.
from dad. Presumably, the whole thing has happened
Very
off
hard to
camera
wrangle.
to emphasize the fact that Jimmy is estranged from his
I
family.
hate this.
And so
We're in hell. This is hell.
all of us are currently insane. None of us are connected to reality right now, but we have a conversation between the miscarried younger sister and the older sister who is now dead
and in heaven.
Oh, Emily, it's like a dream. Such a fleeting moment. If only people could understand. Why didn't Jimmy keep his promise?
Yeah, Jimmy.
I don't know all the reasons, Emily. I know it has something to do with free agency. People just get distracted, and they lose their perspective.
By shiny car
They
keys.
forget what's really important. Well, what's important to me is that I go to our family, not somewhere else.
I could be black.
This movie's conception of abortion is that like it doesn't matter because there's no soul in there yet until the moment you are born.
Yeah.
And you're still going to get born anyway. Your soul is still going to inhabit somebody anyway. So abortion is just bad because it's really uncouth. Because it makes the
think
angels
about
cry.
it.
Yeah.
Why are you
And
asking
here we are
questions,
thinking
man?
so hard about it.
I can't go to Madagascar.
Something I'm wondering about, Jordan and Greg, is this is clearly the moment that anchors this movie dramaturgically, right? Like, this is now Jimmy's fundamental moral choice. Does he make the moral choice to go off with the cool worldly truck people who he can have regular orgies with, or does he go back to his or does he go back to his
Does he
family
go back to the Antrobus house
so that he can have his sister get born? And
He's going to make this choice by the skin of his teeth.
I'm like, okay, this is bizarre. Does this make more sense if you're Mormon? Because I'm like, what the fuck? Okay.
It's like if you think about it for more than 30 seconds, the entire plot collapses. Like I don't like having a more of a theological like mindset on it too is not going to help you at all. Like it's just like, well, do I go back and make sure my mother and father conceive a child? And make sure, you know.
I mean, what is the idea? Is he going to sit in the corner of the room with a little pennant that says "fucker"? Like what?
No, he's gonna rent a hotel room and sit in the cuck chair.
He's gonna put on some Barry White, put some rose petals in the bed. You two get in there. I don't want to see you come out for an hour. Go.
From now on, Dad, you're my bull.
Listen, Mom and Dad. It brings me no pleasure to tell you this man's name. But he sings a song called Let's Get It On.
This then leads us into Jimmy's 11 o'clock number, right?
Yeah.
Who shall he choose?
Whose children are they?
That's what I've been asking. Who are these children coming down?
And the answer is so obvious because the people with the coolest music are the ones you choose, and that's the truck friends.
But
that's
he's
the truck people.
He's positioned in front of 3 tableaus. And Brian, do you want to describe this stage picture?
Yeah, they all get like lit behind him, and then they're also sort of like split screening and crossfading between the two of them. There are all these voices. Some of them aren't really even talking or anything. They're just there. It's more visual than anything, but I do have a little bit of the song here. So will he follow our Heavenly Father's will, rejoin his family, and get his father to nut once more inside of his mother? Or is he going to go back to his friends and do car pranks with them?
Car pranks. Car pranks.
Don't forget your promise. Jimmy, please.
Hey, Flinders, no Flinders. Come on, we got to go, Flinders. You'll never find it here, Flinders. Believe me, I'm your friend.
Jimmy, oh Jimmy, don't listen to them. How can they say they're your friends if they take you away from your family and home and leave you alone in the end?
This is the worst song I've ever heard in my life.
It sounds like a shitty Rocky montage.
Yes. Having seen Rocky on Broadway, it was a lot like this at times. Not even joking.
That line should also be Jimmy, Jimmy, don't listen to themmy. But anyway.
Yeah. Also, they keep saying Flinders. They just keep calling him Flinders.
Flinders.
Like, that doesn't
Go, Flinders. Stupid, sexy Flinders. Fuck some hoes, Flinders. Yeah, it's like, it's just.
I have a question about the sexy truck friends, actually.
A lot of denim right now in this scene.
So their exploits are left very, very vague in terms of what it is that they actually do. And this to me is a big difference from like evangelical Christianity, where when we listen to like Adventures in Odyssey, for instance, they're obviously not going to go into explicit detail about what's going on exactly because it's a kids show, but they're going to give you a couple indicators about what specifically it is that they're doing. Whereas we don't get that from the truck friends at all.
No.
And I'm wondering, like, again, is this something that is just bad writing, or is this sort of like a Mormon thing where they don't even want to lead you down that garden path, if only unintentionally?
Yes.
I think it's interesting that they go as far as they do, though. Yeah, I feel like you could end up with Jimmy in the gutter and some implication that he's been like drinking a lot or something. But here, no one's doing any substances. They're all just barebacking. Yeah, that's their whole thing.
Yeah, that's the thing I like took away from it too. Is like every time they cut to the gang, they're just like laying around. It's like, man, work sucks. We don't have to do anything out here. And it's like they're not really doing anything. Like it really is like a dare skit. Like like there's nothing else there too. It's like, man, we smoked so much doobies last night, and they don't have any doobies. There's no bottles. There's no needles. There's nothing. All it really says is like, we're gonna act like we're doing that because we blew all of our budget on fog machines early on in the show. The only thing I can think about with these gangs is like they're guilty of the sin of having a shitty attitude. Like that's it.
That's the worst sin you could commit, though.
This is something
they're not keeping sweet.
But to be clear, this is something that is also a commonality across other like Mormon media, where like you just never see anything bad.
I think about the Singles ward for the most part too, where the main protagonist is like a guy who's
Will Swenson.
Yes.
Broadway's Will Swenson, the husband of Audra McDonald.
Which is so funny now to think about. But like he's like tempted to, and he like has a drink or something like that, and that's as far as it goes. Like it's implied that they're gonna have sex or something like that, and then like that's it. Like the drink's like, no, get away, temptress. And then like it just kind of falls apart from there.
They gesture vaguely to it when all I can think of is Elder Cunningham and Elder Price. But like the
Goofus and Gallant.
Goofus and Gallant. Todd.
No, not Todd.
And Wally.
Wally and Drew Carey.
Wally and Drew Carey.
Yeah. Wally and Matt Foley.
Yes. When they help get Todd back on the right track.
Because previously he was living in a van down by the river.
Yeah.
But Elder, what do you want to do with your life?
This is interesting because, again, whenever you see someone getting proselytized to in evangelical stuff, it's always like someone who's like, well, I've known you for so long, but you have something that I don't, blah, blah, blah. But it's usually you're one of those, huh? And here we have a very different archetype of a guy who's like, I've been looking my whole life. There is something there. I just have to be like my dad or whatever, but I don't know how to do that.
Yeah.
And it turns out there were these little golden plates that were found in upstate New York, and they have all the answers.
Well, because again, this now is sketch guy Todd finally reuniting with Wally and fucking Chris Farley. And this is a moment where, because we've seen Todd's point in this movie, Todd's entire purpose, dramaturgically speaking, is to pine. He is pining for something, and I think it's Dick, but he thinks it's the Lord, and so they're able to. No one
has a bigger dick than God.
That's right, Brian.
The Lord works in mysterious ways, brother.
Yeah, it's like, I don't know how you can write a character that hangs out in like public parks all the time.
Drawing other men.
Yeah,
it's a very straight thing to do, guys.
So they get him. They get to baptize him, but then they don't really baptize him. They accidentally hit his head on a park bench.
It's this montage. It's a montage of bits.
They're not even bits. They're just goofing off, and the camera is still running.
That's the thing that drives me crazy about this film is like there is no constant messaging at all on this. The music's not constant. The tone is not constant. Like you go from like these like very sweet musicals to like some sort of twangy Western one really quick. So, like why? But then it's like, and then you like go from like serious like, oh, mom had a miscarriage and your sister died to like pranks in the park with missionaries. Like what the hell is going on here?
Yeah, and have a little comic relief in there, I guess. And
there's a reprise here. There's a reprise of that missionary theme from Up Top, just in case you didn't get already that this is paying off their
humble
C-plot. Right.
They've been humbled because they were actually able to convert someone. So they've had a whole arc. And you know what? They're about to get their reward because he flies home.
Right.
And meets up with Julie again, who has realized the error of her ways because the wedding was in 3 days.
Yeah, Julie is not getting married today.
She meets Wally, but Wally runs past her to hug Drew Carey because they're into each other now. And then he's like, oh, wait, you're here. Oh, anyway, let's get married. She's like, I'm not getting married. I'm going to get married to you. It's Orpheus turning around on Eurydice before they reach the opening.
Yeah.
And it's, wait for me.
I'm coming.
And then Josh's cousin comes in through the gate. And they're like, wait, I knew you in the before times.
Right.
In the land before time. I'm Ducky and you're Littlefoot.
Todd finally realizes
that they taught to each other.
At long last, Todd finally realizes that both Dick and Pussy are acceptable outcomes.
Loyal.
Yes. And then the mom gives birth. I'm sorry if it sounds like we like sped through this entire last section. It's because none of it matters, and at this point, I was longing for death.
Through it. We haven't.
No,
this is how fast it goes,
and it's a rainstorm, so she can't like go to the hospital. They can't reach the doctor.
And this fucking
she was born in lightning. His sister.
Oh God,
Macbeth, beware
this
Macduff.
Scene, by the way, is presented in easily the most naturalistic way of any scene in this movie, and it is fucking harrowing.
Yeah.
It is.
They throw all the other kids out of the room. They can't be there.
The dad is like 3 NyQuils deep, has no idea what's going on.
That man's been roboing for 3 weeks.
And they're gonna ruin a couch, really, is what happens. They grab some towels and they give birth right on that couch, and the couch is miraculously clean after the baby is born.
And I mean, that's it. The baby's been born. Emily has come into this world. We get the song from Up Top starts playing again. Who are these children coming down?
Whose children are
we
they?
never really quite find out.
No,
but
choir's still
they're
bored
here
as shit.
For Saturday. We keep talking about Saturday. Saturday
night's all right.
It's all right. It's all right. It's not Sondheim's best, but it's all right.
Oh my
warrior. D-A-Y. Warrior.
So we've done it. We've gotten through this fucking thing.
Oh my God, what a profound waste of everyone's time.
This is the most important Mormon document since Joseph Smith wrote the fucking book.
Joseph Smith didn't write the book. He transcribed
Dictated
it.
So what have we learned?
That I think I have some sort of like mental disorder now.
Well,
yes.
Actually, this is something that I wanted to ask you guys, because you both obviously grew up watching this shit in much the same way that I and Brian grew up listening to Adventures in Odyssey. And I'm curious if like going back and rewatching this again, your experience was probably pretty different from ours insofar as it was like, oh, wow, that's a thing from my childhood that I'd completely fucking forgotten about. And I'm curious if you could speak a little bit more to that.
Oh, I laughed a lot more this time.
Yeah.
Okay. First time terrified me as a child. Just be like, oh, okay. So this is what everything's going on like. Okay. Now it's just like, this is the most horseshit musical I've ever seen in my life. And also like, it's just filled with terrible ideas that have just like gave people just like guilt complexes for their entire lives.
There was a lot of laughing for me. There was even like a sense of gratitude and just being like, thank Allah that I don't have to deal with this shit anymore.
Sure.
You know, like, you have no power over me.
It was comic relief in like the most literal sense that it's like, this is so wild. This is so absurd. And I haven't been a part of this religion for over 20 years now. And like, thank goodness for it. 'Cause my life is so much better because of it.
Thank Heavenly Father is what you're saying. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, you watch this and then you just realize like, man, how many people have had their like lives ruined because of this? Because they because of like thoughts that were planted in their heads at like a young age watching this. Like, I have to have as many kids as humanly possible or else like spirit children won't be born. And then like, and like to an extent,
I have to make sure I don't get in the way of my parents giving me more siblings.
Yeah.
That could end up being
like,
my fault.
It could easily take a turn into existential dread.
Yeah.
I just think that I choose cynicism and to laugh about it and like choose that relief probably because it's easier. I don't know. It's probably some sort of defense mechanism, but it works.
Like you just think about this too, because this is just a 2-hour guilt trip.
Yeah,
like that's
absolutely.
That's the whole purpose of it too, is to make you think like you ungrateful little bastard for asking questions. Like, what's your problem? By doing this, you're stopping spirit children from being born. So why don't you just get with the program?
Yeah, but it's also baffling to me because the children would be born anyway. It's just two different people.
But AJ, they might be black.
I know. It's so. This movie, as I think you both have said, it's so like tonally inconsistent, but then also like the spiritual messaging is just all over the place. Like I can't get like a specific ideology out of this. Like, the one thing the credit where credit's due for evangelical stuff that we listen to, like there's no subtlety. Like, the point. You walk out of it being like, okay, I understand the theology and I understand what I'm supposed to be taking away from this. But this thing is just bafflingly like all over the place. They're saying environmentalism is bad. Like there are eco-terrorists that are keeping you from having more kids. But that's never really explored because they just kind of lounge all day on that
interesting
car.
Is the evangelicals have picked that up, AJ. Like if you read the Daily Citizen Focus on the Family's website, every time they talk about environmentalists or environmental efforts, it's always portraying that as antinatalism, as the only reason environmentalists exist is to keep people from having children.
Wild.
They learned a lot from the Mormons since Prop 8.
Yeah.
I think that has become less of a thing with Mormonism as like Mormonism moves more into the mainstream. Like at a certain point, we can't really like mimic the same sort of points you'll see from like the Focus on the Family or anything like that too, because we're looking for mainstream acceptance that's even beyond like evangelical Christian organizations. At a certain point, like we want Mitt Romney to be president, so we can't be saying crazy shit like that.
Yeah. But it's still, I mean, this is the thing, right? Whether you're talking about evangelical Christianity or Mormonism, the fundamental underpinnings remain the same. Like you can launder it as much as you want. You can put a happy face on it as much as you want, but it's still the project is one of colonial dominance still. Like that's the point.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, aesthetically, there is a lot in common between something like Saturday's Warrior and any given like evangelical straight-to-video movie from the same era. There are different talking points. There are different things that they focus on, but there is so much here that is familiar to us. The main thing that it appears to me is that evangelical movies are made by straight people. That's the main difference.
I think the other big difference to me that I noticed, and this was the thing where it's like, I just have no frame of reference for this, is that certainly there are strains of evangelical Christianity where quiverful is prominent. Like I remember, for instance, in college, my boss, who I worked in the college IT department, and my boss there was like a big quiverful guy. He had like fucking 8 kids, and they loved to like ride on their ATVs and shit like that. You know, classic kind of guy. But
I can smell him.
But it's cool that you worked with the Gemstones.
Yeah, I know, right?
What was that like?
Lots of car pranks. But the big difference there is, I think, the reason for it. Like, with evangelical Christianity, the idea is that we need to redeem the world, that the world is broken and fallen and out of sync with God's original plan. Therefore, the point of us having all these fucking children is to bring people back properly into the fold and install a theocracy, which is sort of similar in Mormonism, but I feel like it's a bit different. And I was hoping that you guys could speak to that.
I don't think it's different at all.
I think it's pretty one-to-one.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like I was about to say too, like the entire purpose, like one of this like stated goals of Mormonism essentially is like, we have to preach to every corner of the earth before like Jesus comes back essentially.
Yeah. Yeah.
And like, the only way we're going to do that is if we have millions upon millions of willing, like,
warriors,
soldiers to
Saturday warriors
to go be missionaries everywhere in the world, and we have to build temples everywhere, and we have to do this and we have to do that to make sure that our reach is global.
Sure.
And like it really is the same exact thing where it's like we can't do this until we have absolutely as many people as we can possibly get, build as many temples, build as many church houses, make sure we own as much land everywhere, make sure we own like essentially have just the sitting on $100 billion worth of money too. Yeah. Like you'll see this, and it is just the same thing. It's just domination. And it really does speak to it. Like, I really feel like evangelical Christianity and Mormonism have just built like parallel institutions from each other.
Yeah.
And they just expand out that way too. Like it takes on a lot of the same characteristics as each other.
Well, and I think they realized in the last 30 years, like, oh, the politics are the same. So we need to start making, in the same way that evangelicals did with Catholics in the 70s after Roe v. Wade, they realized, oh, well, if the Mormons are putting money into Proposition 8, if they're supporting Republican candidates, all this stuff, well, we got to do it. We gotta join forces. We gotta just say, you know what, fuck it, we're on the same side.
But I think it's so wild that this has ended up happening though, because at least traditionally, Mormonism was anathema to evangelical Protestants.
Oh, absolutely.
My fucking dad.
More so than just about any other religion.
Oh, way more than even like, you know, fucking like Judaism or whatever. Like it's like treated as a perversion of Christianity, like a false version of Christianity. I remember my dad, you know, hardcore, like grew up pretty hardline evangelical, telling me, you know, look, if you ever hear about this thing called the Book of Mormon, be fucking careful, man. It's going to tempt your soul. And like, and this was a thing too when Mitt Romney made his first run. Was there were a lot of evangelical Protestants who were like, "Yeah, no, I can't back this guy. He's a fucking Mormon." That's also the reason. And then they did. And that's also a reason that like
Republicans fall in line. I'll tell you.
The state of Michigan, despite the fact that Mitt Romney is from and grew up in Michigan, the state of Michigan doesn't really claim him as a native son. And I think part of that is because Mormonism isn't really a thing in Michigan.
It really is funny because, like you said, like the last 30 years, like it's just created strange bedfellows in politics. Like, for example, for the longest time too, like the Catholic Church and the Mormon Church were essentially like, Mormons called the Catholic Church the great and abominable Church of Babylon.
Yeah,
like,
right.
Like, wow, you're not really mincing words there.
Which was also even like a lot of Baptists also thought of,
which is very funny because
Pentecostals,
Mormonism seems to have borrowed a lot of stuff from Catholicism. There's,
they borrowed a lot of stuff from a lot of places.
Yeah, that's fair, but it is.
The Freemasons, the Jews,
Methodism,
and on and on and on.
If you were a religion that was around in like the northern New York area in about the 1820s, good news, you got incorporated into Mormonism pretty seamlessly. But like if you read like the Deseret News, which is the newspaper that's owned by the LDS Church and everything like that, like you will see at least 5 or 6 stories a week on just religious freedom, which is pretty clear what that states at this point too. It's pretty much right to discriminate against women, minorities, gays, LGBTQ people, period. Like that's the whole thing and then you'll see people who 30 years ago would have said Mormons have tails and horns. Like people like Rod Dreher is writing in the Deseret News now. How can you make sense of this without just saying like, oh yeah, well, I guess we've had a massive political realignment, especially among religions.
Yeah. God, imagine if Rod Dreher goes Mormon. Like he's been Methodist, he's been Catholic, he's been Orthodox, but he's wanting to be Catholic
like
still.
Maybe,
yeah.
That might be the next step.
He can still eat
like,
sausage.
I'm just gonna walk around Temple Square and just be like Rod Dreher is like at like City Creek, like looking at like his clams, just like
making the soy face.
Does this mean too, because one thing that has happened definitely in evangelical Protestantism since this realignment is that the actual doctrine of Christianity and of the Bible and common theological interpretation becomes way the fuck less important than commitment to the culture war? Yes. Has that same thing happened in Mormonism?
Oh, absolutely. I would absolutely say that's been the case too, because like they don't really care about too many culture issues because first off, Utah is locked up politically by the legislature and all that too, which is very well like in lockstep with the church anyway. So they're not going to change anything. So that frees them up to essentially like not worry about doctrine, just like worry about putting in like cultural issues everywhere else. I mean, that's why like the only thing you'll hear about on the political like spectrum from the church is just religious freedom. Like you have to give us religious freedom, which like no one can ever really define to me like what religious freedom have you been denied in this country? You are the largest landowner in the country probably with the church.
Excuse me, the governor of Missouri signed an extermination order against the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints.
My people have suffered.
He got shot in the face for
go.
That. Yeah, like Lillian Boggs got shot in the face for that one too.
Yeah,
so
and then,
I think
Porter
he probably
Rockwell
regretted
almost killed him.
That's like they run with that. That's what I see from your Twitter feeds. Yes. It's just like, excuse me, in 1849, some real shit happened.
And then like
this is why it's wrong
too.
when a bunch of ASU fans call us pussies.
It's my generational trauma is getting triggered.
I'm so sorry this horrible amount of like religious discrimination happened to you 186 years ago. I don't know why people are mad at you today. I think it probably has something to do with the fact that all of you are upset that gay and trans kids exist, but maybe you should just let that go and then maybe people won't be mad with you. I don't know.
Who knows? There's a lot of hit dogs that are hollering.
Yeah, like every single time one of these things happens, like just to talk about the Oregon thing too, like that was such a crock because like that happened right after the whole like N-word at a BYU volleyball game thing happened too. So that was so many people like, oh, you're gonna care about this one thing that we can't prove per se, but not about this video of people saying fuck the Mormons. It's like, yeah, man. Power structures exist, and a person who plays volleyball for Duke has a shitload less power than the LDS Church. I hope you can understand that.
These are the few the Warriors save for Saturday. To come on the last days of the world. These are they.
Is that what it means?
On
it's like
Saturday.
Is that what it means? Like it's just Saturday's Warrior because it's like the latter days right before Sunday, which I guess is Armageddon. Like
maybe this is you're supposed to inseminate your wife on Saturday.
Maybe the real Saturday's Warriors were the friends we made along the way.
Maybe.
And speaking of the friends we made along the way,
yes.
We would love it if y'all would talk a little bit about Brigham Young Money or anything else you would like to plug.
Just a little bit of history, like. It all spawned out of COVID where Jordan and Kyle and a bunch of our friends would come and sit on my front lawn and we would like just have drinks on Friday nights. And Jordan and Kyle and I decided, we should just talk about this. You know, like the conversations we're having on my front lawn, let's record them.
Yeah.
Like for shits and giggles. What else are we going to do? The world's dying.
Right.
And it's turned into kind of like a culture and political podcast with the Utah spin, where we talk a lot about local issues and just like, Utah's a wonderful place. It's also probably the most fucked up state in the nation when you really dig beyond the surface layer. And we do a lot of that and then expand on like national and worldly issues as well. But I would say that it's locally focused with a national twist. And we'll talk politics, we'll talk pop culture, we'll talk weird Mormon movies, we'll talk sports, just a little bit of everything. Like it's just kind of a fun, free flowing conversation on what's in the news.
Yeah, it's a wonderful podcast, and the thing that I really appreciate about it is that y'all cover some really bleak stuff. Your episode,
it's a bad news podcast for sure. Sorry about that.
Your episode, Fresh Ground Solidarity, was the one right after the draft got leaked that was going to overturn Roe v. Wade. And what I loved about it was that you all like expressed like the like very appropriate amount of anger and rage, and then found a way to end that with like interviewing Starbucks workers who were unionizing. It was just this uptick of like, so everything seems hopeless, but look at like these like bright shining rays of hope.
I think I can speak for all of us when I say that we all kind of adhere to Marxist ideology, and as easy as it is to be nihilistic and cynical, there has to be some sort of glimmer of hope, and like it's very easy to doom and gloom, and I do plenty of it, but like it's kind of like this is what we're facing, and like whether or not you want to go through this, we're going to go through it, so we might as well do what we can to make it as good as possible.
So if folks want to find your show, where do they need to go to make that happen?
We're on SoundCloud. We're on iTunes, Apple, Spotify, pretty much any place you can find your podcasts at. You can find me at SLC Lunk on Twitter. You can find Greg at Dad Sham Dad. Podcast page is BYM Podcast.
You can follow Kyle too at Kylipso.
And if folks want to really get into it, you guys have a Patreon too, right?
Yes, we do. Patreon.com/Brigham Young Money. Yeah, give us money. I'm posting,
do it. Give them money.
Give them money, please.
Well, the thing is, like, we're pretty much middle class slobs and all that too. So we don't really hurt for money that much. So what we do is we take that money we get from Patreon and we throw it towards cause right now. Like we've done towards bail funds. We've done it towards abortion funds. We've we've thrown it towards things that we find that are important or a pressing need in our community. So
our Patreon is a slush fund.
It really is.
So if you want to give money to the gay liberal agenda,
that's right.
Yes.
Give it to us.
Yeah.
And we will fund that ourselves.
To anti-natalist truck guys.
There we go.
I'm coming.
So there's a moment in Saturday's Warrior, the seminal 1989 masterpiece that you can find on YouTube.
This movie is never leaving my brain.
Where an angel in heaven, who is played by a woman that you would imagine encountering behind the desk at a DMV, warns all the people, all the souls going down to Earth, that it's pretty stormy down there right now. And it is, I think, pretty stormy out there right now in the world. But as we were talking about, Mormons and evangelicals coming together make strange bedfellows, but they can, and they did, and they created a very sort of effective political machine. But that doesn't mean that we can't also do that. Come together, help each other, help our communities, because at the end of the day, if we pull it together, we can work it out. I'm the worst of all possible AJs.
I'm the worst of all possible Joshes.
And I'm the worst of all possible Brians.
So many possible worlds, but we got this one. So many possible worlds, but we got this one.
All right, folks, that's it for this one. If you like what you hear, check out Brigham Young Money, and if you want to get more of the worst of all possible worlds, check us out over on patreon.com/worstofall. You can get access to our backlog of premium episodes. Again, that is patreon.com/worstofall. See you next time.